Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome one and all to a special, very special New Year's Eve matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss, here with Russell Dobular.
Hola, mis amigos.
We hope everybody is looking forward to a fun, safe, and responsible, fun, safe, and effective New Year's Eve party tonight. But that's why we are here early at 2 p.m. before you guys all get the festivities.
Friends don't
going.
let friends drive fucked up on crank. Exactly.
Remember that, you crazy kids out there. We thank you all very much for being here. I hope none of you experienced I had a little technical hiccup during the countdown. There's something wrong with both my internets and or my Ethernet drive. I'm going to have to go both to Spectrum and to the Apple store and scream, in both stores and see who's willing to deal with it better. I feel like I'd rather scream at the cable company than the Apple store, since the cable company is a common villain. But then again, maybe I'll mix it up. I mean, it's not the workers' fault, obviously, so I shouldn't be mean. But something is afoot here. Something is going on. Something is not right. We've never had these problems before, and this last week, it's like suspenseful. I never know when the internet's going to have a hiccup. It doesn't crash entirely, knock on wood, but it hiccups. We never had hiccups. Not good, right. Believe me, not good.
Yeah, it's like a Tesla.
Yeah, it's like a Tesla. Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, the shit is working like a Tesla. Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. So, something's going to have to be done about that. This aggression will not stand. But it's Sunday, and it's the holidays, so there's nothing we can do about that for the time being. This is our final show, obviously, of 2023. This is also Russell's final show with that book shelf backdrop for quite a long time, because Russell will be flying out to Los Angeles on Tuesday, January 2nd, and he will be there filling in for our friend Jimmy Dore until January 22nd, after which he will be heading out to New Orleans, where he'll be living and working, subletting the New York place and renting down in New Orleans, so relocating. So this will be the last we see of the bookshelves for a while, unless you take a photo of them and try and green screen them in, which actually I recommend you doing.
I might do that, actually.
You should take a picture just so you have the option.
I think I am definitely going to take the picture, and we'll try it out. I don't know what things are going to be like over at Jimmy's place. The two places in New Orleans, if nobody rents them, and this is a really we were talking about this before the show. For a New Yorker, like, we are so conditioned to the idea that any desirable place to live is going to be rented by the end of the day that it's listed.
Right.
I'm kind of shocked that the two main places I've been looking at for over a month seem to still be available. We're at the point now where there's a decent chance they will be available when I get there.
Yeah, it's not like New York where, like you said, any place that's remotely desirable to live in rents in half a day. Right. When you go to rent an apartment, if you're using a real estate agency or whatever, they're always like, you got to let us know by noon, by lunch. And they're not just doing that to sell you. It's actually real.
It's for real.
Time is of the essence.
They got five people lined up waiting to take that place.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at two really nice places, much cheaper than what I pay now. So yeah, I mean, like this isn't costing me anything; it's saving me money to go there for the winter.
Yeah, there you go. Russell slumming it in the French Quarter
That's
from
right.
January through May. We do have some schedule adjustments, though, obviously, because starting this week, Russ is going to be sitting in on the Jimmy Show, and then he'll be hosting the Jimmy Show from the 8th to the 22nd, so 2 full weeks. So we are going to do the show as planned this Wednesday. That's January 3rd. I am going to try to maybe get a fill-in host for at least the first hour or so, or maybe I'll host solo for the first hour or more, because Russ, you'll be sitting in, I guess, co-hosting that one. You'll be playing sort of a Kurt number 2 on that one, but we'll be on
Thing
Wednesday
1 and
night.
Thing 2.
Yeah, Thing 1 and Thing 2. Kurt 1 and Kurt 2 will be on either way Wednesday night at our regular time, 8 p.m. We'll be on Friday morning, 9 a.m. Sunday, the 7th, will be normal. But then, starting the 8th, when Russ is hosting the Jimmy Show, we're going to move our weekday shows up to Tuesday, Thursday. So instead of Wednesday at 8 p.m., the 10th, we'll be doing Tuesday, the 9th at 8 p.m., Thursday, the 11th at 9 a.m. Same thing the following week, Tuesday night show, the 16th, Thursday morning show, the 18th. And then the Sunday, January 21st, Russ will still be in LA because you're going to host the Jimmy Show on the 22nd. I will be in New Hampshire that weekend. So we will both be away that weekend. We will have a show for you on the 21st.
Unlike some people, when you give us money to do something, we actually do it.
We actually do it. Exactly. So I will be in New Hampshire on the 21st, and Russ will be away. So we will have on the 21st at 7 p.m. a special report from the ground in New Hampshire. If I can live stream that, I will. The hotels and the Wi-Fi are a little iffy out there in the country, so if I don't feel the Wi-Fi is stable enough to live stream, I will cut together a presentation on my New Hampshire travels, and we will premiere that at 7 p.m. Sunday night, the 21st. And then that week, starting that week, we'll be back to normal, at which point we will be doing 4 shows a week. So our 4-show schedule, thanks to all our Patreon signups, will start third week in January once Russ is done with the Jimmy Dore Show, once I'm back from the state of New Hampshire. So that's a schedule. We are starting 2024 off just as we closed out 2023, extremely busy, and that is thanks to all of your guys' support. Thank you guys for making 2023 a big year for us. We wish we experienced this channel growth under different circumstances, obviously, but we do appreciate that you guys have taken an interest in what we do.
We always hoped the channel would grow from our roots guitar playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody,
Something a little
we
more
tried
benign.
that at the beginning. Nobody cared about that. Big shout out to Steph in the chat. Thank you.
Hey, Steph.
Love you too. We'll see you in a couple days.
Sounds great. Yeah, that's going to be fun. That's going to be killer. All righty. Let's explain what we're going to do today. Special show today, folks. We have something that we did last year. We're going to do this year again. Last year, we gave our year in review Dissident Award. So we broke the year down into different categories. And this year, we are doing the same thing. We have some Dissident Awards to give out. We'll pick the winners, the losers, the hacks, the sellouts, the propaganda,
the weirdos,
tweets
the
of
freaks,
the year,
the
weirdos,
hotbeds.
the freaks, the assholes, the villains, and of course, the Dissident of the Year award will be the last one. Then we will pause. We'll do our patron shout out. We'll take our mailbag comments, and then we have predictions for 2024. So that's on the agenda for today. We thank you all very much for being here. Extra Bulla says, happy birthday, Wait, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Thank you for the super
Happy
chat.
New Year.
Absolutely. Happy New Year to everybody. Ruthless Criticism, thanks for the $10. In the meantime, may I wish you advance every happiness for the new year. If it's anything like the old one, I, for my part, would sooner consign it to the devil. Karl Marx. Ruthless Criticism, always bringing the history.
Always
and
bringing
theory.
the marks.
What is wrong with my internet?
You're fine. You're fine.
I know, but it's giving me problems on my. It's showing me that there might be a problem. It's stressing me out. See that? Why do they put it in the top corner? That caution, connection unstable. Well, I can't do anything about it. That's just like having a fucking like heckler in the top corner of the screen. You know, breaking your concentration. I don't need to know that. I'd rather not know. I'd rather not know. Anyway, all right, folks, let's get this insanity started here. We're going to start out with the year's winners. We have a winner of the year and we have a runner-up of the year. But our runner-up for winner of the year is last year's loser of the year, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Runner-up for winner of the year.
American politics can change overnight.
Big year for Donald Trump. Really turned it around. He came in weak, came in off of a disappointing midterm results because he ended up backing a rogues gallery of misfits and morons who couldn't even beat the likes of John Fetterman. Okay? I mean, that's who he picked last year to run for Senate, to run for governor. He endorsed a huge slate of losers, came out of that with his stock price way down.
It was the crudité campaign.
It was the crudité campaign. He picked the crudité guy in 2022, really blew up in his face. All his candidates flopped. His stock price was way down for 2024 because of those disappointing midterm results as a result of him having injected himself unnecessarily into the race. His stock price was down. DeSantis' price was up, but he turned it around despite being investigated and prosecuted, in a million different trials coming up. He is far and away the prohibitive frontrunner for the GOP nomination. And if the election were held today, he would almost certainly be president. So you got to give an honorable mention for winner of the year to Donald Trump. Do you not, Russell?
That's life. That's what all the people say. Yeah, man, that's like his theme song, This guy, he was a puppet, a pirate, a poet, a pawn, and a king.
That's right.
And he came back. He came back strong. Unfortunately, they got like 6 deep state pros that are not going to let him be the president. We'll get into that in predictions. But hey, if a free and fair and unencumbered election would be held against all odds, this Rodney Dangerfield, Borscht Belt, quasi-fascist, but, more looking to do, Ralph Cramden, like revolution a la Cramden kind of fascism thing, he would win. He would win. No question about it. My longtime prediction, which again we will get into, is they're just not going to let it happen. They won't even let that guy in the White House on a group tour.
But that's 2024. We close out 2023 with his numbers very good. Very good
hey, man. Hey, look, I mean, Trump, the fact that he was able to come back like this, because let's remember why he lost. As I've said many times, he did everything but climb up on the Oval Office desk on camera and wipe his ass with an N95 mask.
Right.
And the fact that he's been able to come back in such a way that if the election were held today, he would probably win in the kind of landslide we haven't seen since Reagan, like not to that point, but, we're used to these very, very close elections. I don't think it would be close if they held it now and he were allowed to compete in every state.
No, I mean, popular vote would be closer than the Reagan votes, but electoral college wise, I mean, he's winning almost every single swing state.
Right. Yeah, it would be this insane sea of red if you held that election today. That is quite a remarkable accomplishment. Give the devil his due. That is an amazing comeback, and that makes him runner-up for winner of the year, without a doubt.
And speak of the devil... How do you like that?
Final one of the year.
How do you like that segue? How do you like that talk? Oops, sorry. All right,
I'll do it again. Right.
I'll do it again. 702 in the YouTube chat, 319 over on Rumble. Thanks all for being here. Hit that like button, please. We're at a different time slot than usual, so let's hit that like button and bring a crowd in here. So despite Donald Trump's impressive bounce back in 2023, he is not the winner of the year. We thought the winner of the year has to go to the emergent BRICS alliance. There they are, leaders of all the BRICS nations. On the right there is Vladimir Putin's stand-in, since he's wanted by the ICC for war crimes, so he could not actually go to the BRICS summit. But there you have it: Brazil, China, South Africa, India, and Russia. There's no doubt Russia is winning World War III. Their GDP, the collective GDP of the BRICS nations, overtook that of the G7. They have added several countries. They've added Ethiopia. They've added Iran. They've added Saudi Arabia. They've added the United Arab Emirates. Those are all set to join tomorrow, by the way, New Year's Day. And Argentina, they added Argentina and then lost it because Argentina voted for the anti-establishment renegade Javier Milei, who said, no, we're not joining BRICS. We're actually dollarizing, backing the United States, backing Ukraine, and backing Israel. That anti-establishment man of the people, Javier Milei down there. So they had Argentina and lost it, but still just a horrible year for the United States, for NATO and the G7. And this emergent alliance not only took shape, but has grown in influence and legitimacy tremendously at the expense of the United States and the West and NATO. Of course, there was going to be a multipolar world emerging from the debacle that's been Biden's first term, and it's here. And I think they are far and away the ones who really can claim victory in 2023.
Well, this has been brewing for a long time. You know, I talk about this on tours. In fact, the tour I gave today for the last time. The first time I went to Europe, I was 19, and fascination and affection for America was everywhere. Like there were posters of the Grease soundtrack. It was playing in all the stores I was going to. Grease had been in the movies like 20 years before, and they were still playing this. Like that was their vision of America, right? Kids in blue jeans and hot rods, and you know, they really, really worship that. And I went this time, I mean, or the last few times I went there. I mean, there's none of that. There's none of that, affection for America, and that's in the West.
Right.
That's among our supposed allies. One of the most recurring themes in Frank Herbert's Dune series, it's a refrain that comes up throughout the series: the predator strengthens the prey. We have preyed on these people for so long that we strengthen them. We strengthen their tactics. We strengthen their alliances. And they are working up a legitimate challenge to Western hegemony, and the West has no real moral center or no story really about itself to rally its people to its defense to meet this challenge, whereas they do. And in the end, a lot of this kind of conflict is decided by morale and belief, and they have it and we do not.
Indeed. Patrick Donahue, thank you for the $5. Some year it's been. Can't imagine where you'll be in a year. Either 100,000 subs or permanently banned from YouTube. Don't talk like that. Hopefully the latter. I think you meant hopefully the former. I hope you meant hopefully the former.
I hope you meant the former, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Patrick. We appreciate that. Over under end of U.S. empire 2025 or 2030. You know, it's interesting. Our friend Anish Shivani, who I really want to get back on the show, has said for a long time that he picked the year 2030 for it to all come down. And so we should really have him on again.
What did Hedges? Hedges said about 2028, right?
I don't remember where Hedges had it pegged, but I know our friend Anish said 2030.
I think we're all in agreement that this is the final act of this grand drama we call the United States, and it's Pax Americana, such as it is. It's only a question of year. I would say 2030 at the outside.
There you go. Happy New Year, says Shina Billy to my favorite JOOs. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shina Billy also says Keaton looks like Milquetoast Castro. You know, I wore this hat because it is not a good hair day for me. It is not. My hair is now at that moderate length. You know, when it's long, it's easy to, shape. When it's short, it's easy to shape. This is the in-between length. Where, see, not good. Believe me, not good. So that's why I went with the hat today. But thank you.
I'll give you a
is that Keaton or Zelensky? I do have the Zelensky green tea going. This is his color. That's true. I didn't even think of that. But thank you, 007.
I'll give you a Castro fun fact, also from the tour. I'm like doing my tour from today. So it was called the Black Waldorf Astoria, the Hotel Teresa on 125th Street. Today it's condos. And when Castro went to address the United Nations the first time, he said he wanted to draw attention to the racism inherent in capitalism. So instead of staying in a posh downtown hotel like the rest of the delegates, he stayed at the Hotel Teresa in Harlem. And as a result, that's where he had his first summit meeting with Khrushchev, right on 125th Street.
There you go. Beautiful. All right. We got a few losers of the year. And I'm going to toss to Russell since this has been his beat. This is in line with his prediction, but a runner-up, certainly for loser of the year, Disney CEO Bob Iger.
Okay, so Bob Iger hands off the reins of Disney, and then whacks his successor at an Elton John concert. I can't remember his name now. He was also Bob. What was he? Tell me in the chat. You guys will remember. So whacks him at an Elton John concert on a Sunday night in the middle of the night. Comes back as the galloping.
Didn't actually whack him.
Didn't literally.
Sounds
whack
like
him.
he did it in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Canned him.
Shit canned him.
They found him mysteriously in a motel room in New Jersey on the side of the highway.
In a goofy costume.
So and he had been undermining him the whole time that he had that role. And he gallops in. He's going to be the white knight. And in spite of the fact that a lot of the problems Disney is having are a result of the policies that Bob Iger set in motion. They have lost approximately $1 billion at the box office this year. They're pulling way back on production now for next year. My prediction is they're going to wind up having to cancel Bob Chapek. Thank you. I knew our folks would know. They are pulling way back on production for next year. My prediction, this isn't in the predictions category. I didn't want to keep doing Disney every year. But I think they're going to end up having to cancel a lot of their slate because now they built everything around the superhero genre and nobody wants to see it anymore. They torched Star Wars so bad that people have lost interest in it. They can't get anybody to watch anything they produce under the brand anymore. And they've even kind of lit Pixar on fire. So, it's looking like they're going to have to sell off some of their parts, particularly because their contract forces them to buy out Hulu, which is going to cost them billions of dollars. And with the kinds of losses that they're taking, it looks like they might have to sell off some parts. So Bob Iger, I would think this is very much like how the Clintons felt after they decided to run Hillary for president. That cost them the Clinton Foundation. That cost them their grift. It probably didn't look like such a good idea in retrospect. I think Bob Iger, he thought, I'm going to come in and save Disney. And he's probably feeling like he should have let Bob Chapek take the hits. Because to be fair, the rot was so deep already by the time he came back in, again, due to decisions that he made. But even if Chapek had stayed, you'd probably be in the same place. It's hard to see how you would have avoided hitting this iceberg at that point.
All right, there is one more loser of the year runner-up, and that is, of course, Florida governor turned presidential candidate Ron DeSantis, who came into the year with a huge opportunity and closes out the year having squandered it. Now, Russell is still of the opinion that given certain deep state interventions into taking Trump off ballots and all that kind of chicanery, DeSantis still has a chance in Russell's mind to come out on top through a less than democratic process. But there's no doubt as the clock runs out on 2023, this guy came in with a huge opportunity and was not able to do anything with it, of his own making, at least.
Sure. I think, again, to be fair, it's like if you ever saw Natural Born Killers, where they're interviewing Mickey about ratings, and they say, oh, yeah, you beat this one. And he goes, what about Manson? He goes, Manson beat you. He goes, yeah, it's hard to beat the king. I mean, he's running against Trump, man. It's hard to beat the king. So it's hard. I don't know what he could have done differently that really would have put him in contention against Trump. As I mentioned the other day, I underestimated Trump's strength, but now we see No, man. I mean, that is broad and it is deep. And as long as he's running, nobody can really touch him. So I don't know. It's not like he messed up. It's not. Well, I mean,
he didn't broaden his message.
Anti-gay ad.
Well, the anti-gay ad, the attacking Trump for being too gay friendly, and also he didn't broaden his message. We said at the beginning of the year he's going to have to broaden his message beyond the war on woke, and he never did. He never came up with a critique of Ukraine that made any sense whatsoever. He doesn't have any answer on Roe. In fact, he killed himself. Not killed. I deleted. That's a metaphor, YouTube. He fucked himself on the abortion thing by passing that 6-week ban. That really hurt. Because he needed to moderate really on that issue, not double down. So that hurt him. So he did fail to broaden his message, and he made a couple of very, very bad calls.
I would not consider it outside the realm of possibility because it's not. I believe there is a political calculus there. I think he said, I'm just going to double down on abortion to try to win the evangelicals in Iowa to have an upset, because even if I don't beat Trump, if I overperform, that becomes the narrative going into New Hampshire. I think there's a method to his madness. And from what I understand, strategically, he does have a pretty impressive ground game. The question is really, does he have the funding to ride it out and wait for some kind of deep state intervention or, legal court, Supreme Court ruling kind of intervention to stay in that long? Or does this wind up dragging out and getting really decided at the Republican convention?
Yeah, I mean, that may have been a strategic decision in terms of going for the Christian right, hardline evangelicals in Iowa. But then again, that came at a big cost because his overall pitch is that he can win, that he can beat Biden. And in order to really make that pitch make sense, he had to moderate on that issue, not double down, because not only is he losing in the Republican primary polls, but of all of the, formidable GOP candidates against Biden, he's polling worst. Nikki Haley's beating Biden by the most, Trump by the second most, and DeSantis is struggling to even top Biden in general election polling. So, he made a lot of bad calls, and that's why he is definitely runner-up for loser of the year. But, of course, the guy who lost World War III is loser of the year. And there is a bit of an asterisk because we have to give it to Volodymyr Zelensky since Ukraine is the technical loser of this war. But he was really set up to fail by NATO and the West. And so, I mean, his defeat is really the defeat of Joe Biden and of NATO because he never had a chance to win. And so while he is technically the loser of the year, really that has a little bit of an asterisk because underneath it are the forces, both political and economic, that forced this war on this country that could never in a million years actually triumph.
Right. Well, and he didn't have the wisdom, integrity, or backbone to stand up against the Western powers that were clearly using his country and the lives of his countrymen and women as a pawn in a game of risk that they really had no stake in. He did just allow
his people to be run through a meat grinder for the West. That's true.
Anyone looking at the circumstance, anyone knowing the history would understand. Russia, big country. Ukraine, little country. You can't win a war of attrition. It's impossible. It doesn't matter how many weapons they give you. We're at least 10 to 20 years away from the T-5000, the Terminator, going out on the battlefield. So you need people to run those weapons. You need people to use those weapons. And as we can see, I even saw, in the corporate media, a headline the other day that the average age of the people at the front now is in their 40s. And they quoted someone saying, I physically can't do this.
Right. Yeah, no, it's just, it's horrible. But definitely foreseeable on the part of Ukraine. There was definitely, that you could see that a mile away. That's why we said from the outset there was a peace deal on the table from day one that should have been agreed to on day one. And it wasn't. And the tragic loss is the people of Ukraine who were fed into a meat grinder for no reason. for something that could have been and should have been obviously avoided before it even started.
Right. And according to reports, Russia was ready to come to a settlement early on, and then Boris Johnson went to Ukraine, told them we weren't going to approve that. I don't know where that fits into nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, but apparently they were told to keep fighting, and here we are.
Exactly. Jake is not here today because it's a matinee, but I am fielding Rumble rants to the best of my ability, so feel free to send them if you got them. There's nothing more helpless than a politician or company leader who can do something to help normal people but doesn't want to. No help coming in 2024. We can only save ourselves. Thank you for that Rumble rant. We appreciate that, and I agree. Abiding 71. Thanks for the 99 cents, my friend. Appreciate you. Dan Richmond, it's an honor just to be nominated for Jewiest Jew Dissident. There you go. Thanks, Dan, for calling into our Patreon show last night. We had a really fun time on the Patreon show last night. So if you're not a Patreon member, sign up and you can watch the replay of that stream.
That was a really
fun one. Yeah,
we laugh the hardest on the Patreon shows because it's like that pressure's not there that you have to think before you speak. So we really let it fly on that one.
Yeah, that was a funny one. That was good. Good stuff. We covered Bree and Robbie. We covered Mike Rappaport. We covered Chelsea Handler. We even covered our friends over at the Vanguard a little bit. It was a lot of fun. Great time was had by all.
We commented on their on their increasing obsession with us.
Yeah, we don't want to comment too much in public because the big rule of comedy is never punch down.
Don't punch down. Yep.
So, but in the privacy of our own club gig, we had some fun. Derek P, thanks for the $9.99. Happiness, health, growth, and prosperity to you and yours in 2024. Happy New Year's, gents. Happy New Year. Appreciate that. Granite Liberty, who also called into the patron show last night, says, Happy New Year. My wife likes your hat, Keaton. Well, thank you. She says you look like you're on MASH. Yeah, I like this hat. I've had this hat a long time.
He looks like a newsie.
Yeah, look like a little new. Yeah, it's a nice hat. I like it. It's plain. It's warm.
Extra. Read all about it.
Yeah, exactly. All righty, let's move along here. All right, so we have Hack of the Year. Now, Hack of the Year, the obvious choice, Russell and I both agreed, was Bill Maher, just because of just the cheap and inane comments that he has made since the start of the Israel-Gaza war. But then Russell rightfully made the point that that's kind of too easy, and because Bill Maher's not really capable of anything above hackery, we should give it to someone who is.
While it's not even like it just emerged this year. He's been this person forever.
Right. He's been that cheap, lazy hack comic commentator pundit for years. Why not give it to someone who really debased himself this year and really revealed himself for the hypocrites that he is? And we're talking, of course, about Douglas Murray, who most famously, at least in our eyes, had that real severe tweet about the couple who was forced to move their vendor table at a mall or a train station in London to accommodate a peace protest. Can you believe it's 2023 and this is happening in London? So yeah, Douglas Murray, who got a lot of credit from a lot of us in this space for his debate performance with Matt Taibbi against Michelle Goldberg. Was that it? It was Michelle Goldberg and the other guy. Who's the other guy? Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a great performance there in defense of, freedom of expression and things like that. And then he kind of revealed that he only means it one way as soon as this war broke out. So Hack of the Year, pretty easy choice. There was some competition, but we decided Douglas Murray was the most deserving of this honor.
Yeah, apparently it's just free speech for Western chauvinists. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
If you align, and Barry Weiss is the same way. Like if you look at both of them, they will point to because they see the accusations of hypocrisy, and they try to slap them away by showing examples of where they stood up for people against their cancellation. But it's all people who are getting canceled for things that they would side with them on. They didn't show any examples of them standing up for people who had views they would disagree with.
Right.
It's all people who are getting canceled for their views on gender and views on the West, things that they would align with. So that's really not a reach. That doesn't demonstrate a real commitment to the principle of free speech to defend speech that you agree with. Do you understand how the whole free speech thing works? That's part of what's been revealed here, because people like Weiss, people like Murray, they really fancy themselves these intellectuals, and they've just revealed themselves to be such shallow hypocrites as soon as Israel erupted. I mean, Murray, he sounds like something out of V for Vendetta, like deport them all, like literally, like round them all up. That is some speech advocate. And for someone like me who does have a nuanced view on evaluating the West in regards to other civilizations, I would rather people like Murray shut the fuck up, because you're hurting the conversation. Because when somebody like you, who's very strongly associated with an argument that I do agree with, that the idea that the West is uniquely evil in the history of the world is historically illiterate, but then as soon as something like this happens, you reveal that you really are somebody who is if not a white supremacist, white supremacist adjacent. Like, clearly you connect the West and Western values to the rightness of imperialism. See, my argument is everyone sucks. Your argument is literally that the West is better. That's not my argument. That's a very different argument. And as soon as this erupted, it became very clear, all of his talk and all of these guys, until this happened, they will try to qualify what they're saying by claiming that they don't have any disdain for these cultures. But clearly you do. Clearly you have a disdain for these cultures, you have a disdain for these people, you have a disdain for their concerns, and you consider any interjection of those concerns into the conversation as a terrible assault on civilization itself as you see it.
Yeah, indeed. No doubt about that. Here's a category that is sort of adjacent to Hack of the Year. This is Sellout of the Year. In 2022, we gave this award to Pramila Jayapal for folding on the infrastructure bill, despite promising that she would hold her caucus together and hold out for a better deal. This year, though, Sellout of the Year has to go to Bernie Sanders for the simple reason that he knows that the right thing to do is to call for a ceasefire right now. He certainly knows that. And as one of the only Jewish members of the Senate, he ought to feel extra responsible to do that. Russell and I are both Jews. That's partly, not entirely, but partly why we feel such a responsibility to speak out on the Israel-Gaza war as much as we do, because we understand that when people like us, when Jews like us speak out, it helps tear down that really insidious propaganda point that to criticize Israel is to criticize all Jews. And so Bernie is in a position to come out and call for a ceasefire. If one of the only Jewish senators in the country came out and said what we know he really knows is the right thing, that would help move the needle. That would create significant momentum behind a ceasefire. And he's choosing not to do it. And he's still choosing to back Joe Biden in spite of his handling of this. When Trump put out that rot in hell tweet, Bernie put out a tweet comparing FDR's Christmas message and Joe Biden's Christmas message to Donald Trump's Christmas message. So he is in a position to do what he must know. I mean, Bernie is a man of the left. He's not as far left as many in our chat here, but he is a democratic socialist. He has a history of left activism. There's no doubt he understands what the right thing to do is here, and he's choosing not to do it. That makes him, in my eyes, the clear front runner for sellout of the year 2023.
Bernie, for not just this year, every year since 2016 is just, and particularly since 2020, is just a pathetic reminder of what we thought he was. And I've said this before, the worst thing about Bernie Sanders and who he turned out to be is he proved the Hillbots right about him. Everything they said, He's no revolutionary. He's a standard Washington politician. This is all rhetoric. He's grifting. He is. You know what evidence I have that he was grifting? That we got emails the same day that he dropped out asking for more money. Okay. All right. So even if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, all right, well, he wanted that money to continue to advocate for the right positions. Have you seen him do that since 2020? So what the fuck's he asking for money for? What's he asking you for money for? For what? What the fuck is he using it for?
What movements is there?
What movement? He's doing nothing. He has become just a sad MSNBC pundit with messier hair. He just, at this point, there's really not a lot of daylight. It just, just a few kind of nods to left rhetoric, but he sounds just like them now. Well, Joe Biden is my good friend, and we have to get behind Joe Biden. Donald Trump is a dangerous autocrat. Get the fuck out of here, you fucking piece of shit. I'm telling you, man, the heart attack can't come fast enough. I've had enough with this fucking guy.
All right, Jacob Burke, thanks for the $20. Guy who hit Rappaport in the face with Snowball deserves Lifetime Achievement Award. Yeah, Russell sent that to me.
He sent it to me.
Oh, yeah. Well, just so you know, I mean, yes, I agree. That was a really funny video, but that is like a couple years old. That happened, a couple years back. As you could see in the video, there's snow in the ground in back of him. We haven't had a big snow here in New York this winter yet, but yeah, that is a really funny one. Thank you for the $20.
Yeah, I thought that was new. I was like,
no, if that were new, that would have gone viral.
Thing.
That would have gone viral. Yeah.
Yeah.
My early 2024 electoral prediction: Republican pickups for U.S. President, yes, Trump, and U.S. Senate. Republican hold for U.S. House. The trifecta. Cool Blues predicting a trifecta. Well, we'll get to predictions, and actually Russell has a prediction on that same matter. Happy New Year, says Jax Page. Happy New Year to you. Wishing you continued success in 24. Thank you very much. Arpoon says, I like that cap, Keaton. Thank you. Makes you look like a radar from MASH. Yeah, we've had a MASH comparison. All the best for 2024. Happy Hogmanay Dissidents. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Arpoon. Thank you guys very much. We got a couple of Rumble rants coming in, which we'll read in a moment. But let's go on. All right, so there's a time in every award show where we do special recognition. So this is a special category for this year that Russell's going to handle, our dystopian developments of the year. So first up, ChatGPT.
Okay, so ChatGPT is advancing at such a rapid rate that even though many say it's not true AI, it's good enough. It is going to throw, probably over time, the majority of kind of secretarial, paralegal work, even a lot of medical assistant work. A lot of medicine could be practiced this way. I mean, anyone who did telehealth during COVID or continues to do it, I mean, a lot of that where you just talk to a doctor and describe your symptoms, I mean, that could be done by AI. The thing that's gotten a lot of attention in the creative field, I am of the opinion this is going to destroy Hollywood as an institution. Like, you might have some remnant of it left, but when everyone can make a Hollywood quality movie in their computer, which is where I think this is going, there's not going to be any barrier to entry for making a movie. Hollywood is based on the cost of making a movie, right? That's why you have an industry. There's a high barrier to entry. I think it's going to destroy that industry entirely. It's going to, the trends we're already seeing where you don't have any movie stars anymore, that's going to go even further to the point where a Hollywood star, you could almost argue a lot of them have less cachet than some of your bigger influencers already. That is just going to accelerate even further, so that Hollywood is going to wind up having to play catch up with influencers to try to use their techniques to try to become part of the social conversation. But, fuck them. In terms of what it's going to do to the economy as a whole, capitalism, and, I suppose this is not a tragedy. It depends on how they handle it. Capitalism cannot function in a world that does not need workers. And you're talking about the same thing that happened to a lot of blue collar workers with automation is about to happen to white collar workers, even the lower middle management, white collar workers, or especially the lower middle management. This is going to create enormous dislocation, poverty, and I am increasingly of the opinion that the Davos set sees this coming and are adopting policies that are detrimental to our health and well-being. It's as good an explanation for something as irrational as what was it? Was it Cosmopolitan that put the obese woman doing yoga on the cover with the headline "This is healthy"? That's crazy. I mean, there's no science to back that up, and now we're seeing all these fat influencers dropping dead one after the other. So you have to ask yourself, why are they pushing this anti-science idea about health? Well, maybe they're trying to kill us because they see a future where they don't need as many of us as they have. So whatever the case with that, we're entering a very, very tumultuous time. And for the left, on the bright side, it creates an opportunity to have a conversation, especially for our communist friends. And we do consider you all friends, in spite of what I've said from time to time.
All right, next.
Okay, so this one's a little more fun, but this is the kind of shit that if you were doing one of those really dark dystopian sci-fi movies and you wanted to show how degraded and sick that future world was, you might show scenes of something like this going on in the background or people watching something like this. So NPC roleplay, they pay people on TikTok to do these repetitive motions and phrases by request, like an NPC or non-player character in a video game. And it is pretty disturbing to watch. So let's take a look.
Tacos. Thank you for the ice cream. 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 Thank you for the ice cream.
A rose, my favorite. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Brianna, for the follow. Games! Thank you, Zach.
Roses smell so good. Thank you.
Thank you for the share! We can get to 100,000 likes in 1 minute. I'll delete my account. Roses, yum! Guacamole, yum! Spicy. Hi, Ian.
Sushi, yum! I need to go to the gym. I'm a fat cow. I love ice cream. Thank you. I love pretzels.
Chili pepper.
Yeah, so that's performance art for the 21st century.
Yeah. Okay. So, what can you say about a culture that would create such a trend? Is that a culture that's doing well? Is that a mentally healthy culture? As Marshall McLuhan said, the medium is the message, and you're seeing a generation that's brain has been pickled in a world of digital fantasy, disconnected from reality, and they're reflecting that back. This is the medium, and this is the message they've absorbed to recreate the behavior of these digital avatars that they've spent their entire lives immersed in, and to reflect that back, and people will pay to see them do it. It's that is not a country that's qualified to lead the world. That is all I have to say. You have to, watching that, a culture has to be so aimless and so unduly luxurious for people to have the time to cultivate something like that. That is a civilization that is not long for the world.
I agree. Like I said, that's just performance art for the digital age, imitating background characters in a movie or a video game. Let's go to some Rumble rants. This is from Dave Morrison. Thank you, Dave. Feliz Año Nuevo, guys. I know that one. I know what that means. DeSantis campaign is supposedly in make the patient comfortable mode. Yeah.
I saw that headline.
Libs will probably rally around Nikki Haley because they have Stockholm Syndrome. the slave stuff will be forgiven. I mean, I don't think she is well positioned to make a real run either, but I do take your point, David. Thank you. Happy New Year. Found about you guys when you were on the Convo Couch with Posse. Yeah, that was a while back. I remember we were on Convo Couch, I think February of last year. Keep up the great work.
Oh, yeah,
Keaton.
wow.
That is a sweet hat. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing Russ hosting the JD show, Jimmy Dore show. Thank you very much for that support, Mad Wolf. And then, Russell, why don't we get the cowbell out? Our friend Ellen Jimerson gave us a very lovely donation of $100. Saying, yo,
Ellen,
split
thank
this.
you.
Thank you, Ellen. That's very kind of you. Get your black-eyed peas and collards or other greens of your choice. Eat plenty of them, and your continued success in 2024 will be guaranteed. Love you both.
I think
Ellen.
we're gonna hang out. Actually, I think she's gonna be in NOLA when I'm there.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, you're not that far, right? Alabama's pretty close. Beautiful. Thank you, Ellen. Appreciate that very much. Okay, let's move on along here. Leff says, I agree with Kim Iverson. Take a look at her predictions. Dems will keep Biden until the convention, then switch him for Newsom. Be happy. He has nice hair. I got a prediction along that line as well. So you see, we're all making the same predictions this year. That's interesting. We're going to get to predictions later on in the show. Yes, indeed. Ron DeSantis, good for Florida. That's it, says Cool Blue. Thank you, Cool Blue. Willie Bragg. Thanks, Willie Bragg. Happy New Year, Willie. The Vanguard goofballs were recently talking smack about due dissidents. Yeah, we saw it. Yeah, due dissidents just recently passed Opie and Beaver in subs. Yeah. Happy New Year. Thank you, Willie. Happy New Year to you.
Well, that's what was, I mean, not to get too into it, but okay, so how lacking in self-awareness do you have to be to do a video about RBN being down on view counts when, like, nobody's watching your show? Like, wouldn't you want to stay off that subject when your views have collapsed and people aren't? Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Back from the road, 199. Russia was willing to make peace in 2015. Thank you, Sho Sugina. This is I'm not even going to attempt that one, but I will put it on the screen so that people can read it. Thank you for the $5. That is very kind of you. Appreciate the donation. Barbara Eaton says, how about a non-apology apology award next year? Interesting. That's something. We'll think about that. Not a bad concept.
I could have used a little more cowbell.
Not opposed to it. Yep.
There's our promise to you where we'll find a solution to having a better mic. Because look, on the upside, I haven't seen one person complaining about my wildly fluctuating volume since we got the settings on this mic right.
Exactly. That's the key. That's what we needed to figure out.
We'll find a solution to the cowbell in the bowl.
Yeah, we'll find it. We'll figure it out. I got to get my first priority is to go to Spectrum and the Apple Store, get this internet figured out, because this is making me very annoyed. It doesn't seem to be a distraction to too many people. I don't see many people commenting in the chat that it's buffering, so that's a good sign.
No, now it seems all right.
All right, good. All right, we're going to give some propaganda awards. We have worst propaganda and best propaganda. It was tough to find good propaganda this year because I think our sort of segment of the population has really wised up and trained ourselves to recognize it. So there was a lot of ineffective and bad propaganda this year, but none as cringy as what we've seen on Israel's comedy TV. So this was a segment that we covered in one of our patron shows, the Columbia Antisemity sketch on an Israeli sketch comedy show, where they're, of course, as you could see from the image, making the point that to oppose genocide is just to be woke. Right. And that's the angle that they've taken on a lot of these things. We obviously covered on the main show, the Mike Rappaport, Hogwarts Harry Potter parody sketch. Just really brutally unfunny. We've said Israelis are generally the only unfunny Jews on the planet. Jewish people, as Russell and I take great pride in, we are famous around the world for our sense of humor. That's because we are self-deprecating. Jews are funny because Jews are able to make fun of ourselves and see the comedy and irony within ourselves. But the Israeli culture is so built upon macho and so built upon a lack of vulnerability. A culture that views vulnerability as this mortal and despicable weakness can never be funny, because in order to be funny, you must be able to laugh at yourself before you can make anyone else laugh at anything else. And Israelis not only don't laugh at themselves, they are committed to never laughing at themselves. They find Jews who can laugh at themselves to be weak. Sometimes they call us Holocaust Jews. That's how nasty they can get about it. And so, yeah, Israeli humor, not good. Believe me, not good. And yeah, this was some of the cringiest propaganda we've seen in a very long time on the Israeli late night comedy circuit 2023.
Well, I think a big part of why it's not funny is to be funny, you need a lot of awareness, right? Like good humor has a kind of all-encompassing understanding of the environment and the nuances of the environment. That's really what real humor is built on. And if you're an oppressive apartheid state that sees itself as a victim, all of your jokes are going to be out of tune with reality because you're not seeing reality. That you're constantly punching down thinking you're punching up because you've cast yourself as a victim in relation to people you're victimizing. How are you going to make humor from that?
Exactly. So worst propaganda of the year goes to the Israeli comedy shows. And we were thinking, what's the best propaganda this year? Because even the AOC sunscreen bit, yeah, we could have done that as a joke, but really, I mean, what can we call good propaganda? The closest thing we felt to good propaganda, because it gave us a couple of funny stories at least this year, was Ryan Grimm's book, The Squad, AOC and the Hope of a Political Revolution. Best propaganda of the year goes to Ryan Grimm for his new book. At least it gave us that story about how Liz Warren tried to, convince AOC not to endorse Bernie based on the mean tweets, the mean tweet dossier.
Yes,
that's a juicy piece of gossip. I think there was one or two others that we may have commented on. So in a year where not much propaganda worked, this was at least good for a few laughs. And so we'll throw Ryan Grimm a bone and give him the Propagandist of the Year award. The most skilled, at least.
It was very hard to find anything because none of it, like good propaganda, it kind of has to be something that convinces people of something. And most of what's out there is just preaching to the converted. So that's not like good propaganda. It's not even propaganda. It's just like a narrative that is ongoing. It's not like this, where he is trying to make the case to progressives that the Squad is anything more than an addendum to Nancy Pelosi's agenda. That is propaganda. That is a real attempt to propagandize to a certain audience something that they don't necessarily believe. But it was really difficult to come up with something. We almost dropped the category.
I was thinking, like, was there a good campaign ad from a politician this year that stood out? But no, not really. Like, there was nothing even on that score. Yeah. Really nothing much at all. Was there a great speech that a full of shit politician gave that we could at least say, hey, props for skill? No, not really. Nothing. So in that sense, yeah, it was kind of a drought for good propaganda this year. But at least we got some laughs out of that one.
Working at McDonald's. A lot of people start out a fry cook, they end up a manager.
Oh, you're actually now that you mention it, had we watched it, it's possible that Obama documentary on work could have been possible, but I don't know.
I can't.
We couldn't do it.
I can't. No, they'd have to like that time we had. What was the threshold for us to watch the Pete Buttigieg documentary? What did we ask for?
We did some patron fundraiser at the time.
Yeah, like we need an incentive to watch that, and it would have to be pretty fucking high.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. All right, so moving right along here, we have 3 more awards to give before we get into our predictions for 2024. These are tweets of the year. I was excited. We added this category this year because now that we've got a YouTube channel and a Rumble channel with significant traffic, we had to really get active on Twitter for the first time. I had not really done Twitter prior to this year. And so now that I spent time on that platform this year, I was able to see some epic tweets. So we do have a tweet of the year. But first, I do think we should give a runner-up honorable mention to a friend of the show, Norman Finkelstein. This was what we call a banger. A good old-fashioned banger of a tweet. If I re-enroll in college as a freshman, will Ben Shapiro then agree to debate me? Yeah, that was an ode. That was an absolute ode. That's the best of Twitter. That has everything you need in a good tweet. It's short,
Yeah.
it's got a rhythm, and it owns somebody else,
He
right?
mastered the form very quickly.
He mastered the form very quickly. As we all know, we all love Norman, but he can be very long-winded, right? He is not necessarily someone who is really hardwired for a platform with a maximum character limit of 280 characters per post, but that is short, sweet, to the point, and hysterically funny. And as you can see, 3.7 million views. That was a viral tweet. And so honorable mention goes to Norm Finkelstein for that one.
If anyone, I mean, my biggest disappointment with Norm, if anyone watched our last interview with him, you know that in spite of his longtime residency in Coney Island, he's never seen the Warriors. So every year they actually show the Warriors outdoors on the beach at Coney Island. So this year I'm going to try to get Norman to go to that.
There you go.
That would be the most awesome little 10-minute clip.
Yes.
Having Norman Finkelstein watch the Warriors on the beach at Coney Island.
That would be something. That would be fun. But tweet of the year, we've mentioned this tweet several times since it's been fired off, goes to Caitlin Johnstone. This was on October 10th, 2023. If I was an Israel supporter, I'd be thinking very carefully about the things I'm posting online in the build-up. This was, of course, at the build-up. This was October 10th. To what could wind up being regarded as one of history's worst genocidal massacres. The internet doesn't forget. What you're tweeting today could haunt you for life. Ain't that the truth? And wasn't that impression warning? So, yeah, far and away, that's the one that stuck with me every day since she tweeted that. I've thought about that. So that's a no-brainer tweet of the year for sure.
If you notice, I feel like a lot of people are thinking like that because even only the most fucking rabid, crazy Israel people I know will even say anything about this online. Like people are serious Zionists. Most of them are staying quiet about it because I think they're afraid of that they're going to have to answer for what they're saying about this now.
Yeah, they're going to have to go back and delete a lot of stuff and remember what they said and when. And, oh, shit, did I scrub the internet of this or that,
Yeah. For a minute, you saw people put the Star of David in their profile, and that stopped real fucking quick, man. I don't see a lot of that.
No, you don't see
from
the
people
Israeli
you would
flag
think would be
emojis.
doing it.
Right.
Yeah, they don't want to have to answer for that.
Exactly. And there is a lot to answer for already. It did not take long for her to be proven right about that. In our first response, October 7th was a Friday? Was it a Friday? I forget what it was, but we went live. I think that Sunday, the first show we did since then, our initial reaction was, I told you, I said this, it breaks my heart to say this, but I think this could be the end of Gaza over the next few months. And so, if you knew anything about the Israeli occupation and the treatment of the Palestinian people before October 7th, you knew that when Benjamin Netanyahu said, our response is going to be unprecedented, the enemy is about to, come down on the side of an unprecedented response, it was very obvious to anyone who knew anything what that meant. And that's why she sent that tweet off, and it did not take long for her to be proven right.
Yep.
All right. This is an easy one, folks. Who do you think the asshole of the year is? Who do you think the villain of the year is 2023? It could only be Benjamin Netanyahu. Sometimes they're so easy and so obvious, but sometimes you can't do what we did with the hack of the year. You can't do the unexpected thing. You just have to tell the truth, as obvious as it is.
Like, who else would it be?
Who else would it be? Right. Do we even have anything to say about that? I feel like there's really nothing you could say.
It was a good shot you picked.
Yeah, it was a good picture. It was a good picture that I chose. So there's really nothing you could say there that we haven't said for the past
nothing to add to it. Like, we don't need to litigate for 10 minutes that Netanyahu is bad.
The only thing I will
our audience knows.
Yeah, the only thing I could add that we haven't mentioned in a while is that a world leader like that, to see President Biden go over and yuck it up with him, like the fact that our president is seen in photos shaking hands and hugging this guy, just really tells you everything you need to know about not just the state of Israel, but the state of the West and the state of the U.S. as well.
Well, we're a nation of war criminals,
Yep.
You know, we got Bush fucking doing finger painting over there, getting the Medal of Freedom. I mean, it's a fucking joke. And as the priest said in that amazing speech that we showed the other night, the West has no right to ever lecture any part of the world on human rights ever again after aligning itself with this atrocity.
Right. Yep. Indeed. Here's a Rumble rant. Here's a softball. Thank you for the donation. Is the NPC nonsense the reason kids in China are forbidden from extended engagement with the internet? Well, that's Russ's theory. Is that they police that because they don't want
they don't want their kids to end up
being
retarded.
rotted. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, they can see where this is going. At first, they didn't do this, and they saw what was happening. They saw what was developing, and they said, "That's it. That's it. You're eating your vegetables in bed by 9. You can go on the internet a couple hours, and TikTok is going to be full of videos about math and science."
Right. That's not dystopia. It's the good old days. You'll see. Well, you could be right. Could be right. Thank you for that. All right. Hobbs, thanks for the $11. 2024 movie recommendation, Crossing Delancey, a movie about Jews in Manhattan.
I know that movie. I'm assuming you do.
Mm-hmm. Where the Jews are all played by actual Jews. They even kiss. Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, well, that was, I mean, what's interesting. Yeah, what's interesting about that movie is that's made in the last days of a Jewish neighborhood on the Lower East Side. That was like the last days where you had that. That was made in the 90s. You go there now, there's a little section on the east side. I don't even know if they're still there, man, because the last time I went over there, my observation was the last of the Jews are like the mummy. You're afraid you touch them, they're going to crumble like old parchment. So they might all be gone by now.
Grassy Knoll, thanks for the $4. Appreciate that. Cool Blue 71. We're in a period of realignment, more ways than one. Yes, indeed.
Yes, you're right.
China Shill, Happy New Year. Communism will win. The dragon rises. Well, BRICS is certainly China.
Maybe.
Patrick Donahue, thanks for the €5. I did mean to say former in that super chat. Damn ADHD. No, I knew what you meant. Don't worry. I
knew what you meant.
You're a man of goodwill, Patrick. Thank you. Okay. We have one more award to do. Then we're going to open our mailbag and respond to a couple of viewer comments. And then we're going to do our predictions for 2024. So this is the big award, folks. This is our Dissident of the Year award. We gave it last year to labor organizer Chris Smalls for defeating the odds and forming the Amazon Labor Union. This was both an easy decision and a difficult one. We knew that the award had to go to a journalist in Gaza. And there are over 100 names of journalists who have given their lives to get the truth out in Gaza. But we thought Dissident of the Year had to be Wael al-Dado. This is the man whose family was killed in an airstrike, and after burying his family was out on the job the next day. That was in October. About 6 weeks after that, on December 15th, his press unit was hit with another airstrike. He suffered a shrapnel-related injury, was admitted to the hospital, and was back out in the field a couple days after that, despite members of his crew having been killed. So there's really no doubt that this had to go to a Palestinian journalist, and it's just absolutely tragic what has happened to journalists in Gaza since the start of this conflict. These journalists put themselves consciously in harm's way. Not only do they not take themselves out of harm's way, they knowingly put themselves in harm's way to the point where many of these journalists do not expect to live through this conflict. Right. They don't expect their families to live through this conflict. They're doing what they are doing to get the word out to all of us. And so, no doubt about it, Dissident of the Year, Wael al-Dado, and we obviously hope and pray for his safety through this, because over 100 journalists have been killed since October 7th in Gaza.
Yeah, and let's not forget, we know from past investigations, Israel, in spite of their protestations, they target journalists.
Of course.
They target the families of
Shireen Abu Akleh was killed in the West Bank. Yeah.
Yes.
Poet, academic, Rafit. What's his last name? Rafit Al-Alar, I believe. I hope I'm saying
Well,
that
that was the one Barry Weiss called out.
Yeah.
On Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah. No. I mean, the level of courage that these people have to continue to go out and report when they know that they're
Rafiat Al-Arir. Sorry about that.
They know that they're a target of this criminal, psychopathic regime. Because the Israelis, which you can see more and more as this goes on and they're forced to explain themselves, they see everyone who opposes them as a Nazi. And this goes back to the inception of Israel. They projected the qualities of the Nazis onto the Arabs in order to justify the atrocities they were committing against them. And they continue to do that. Right? These are Nazi-aligned journalists, as far as they're concerned. They deserve what they get. Why should they avoid killing Nazi propagandists? That's how they've cast them. That's just like any army dehumanizes the enemy, but it's a very, very extreme case of that.
Yes, indeed. And so that obviously made for an obvious choice, Dissident of the year 2023. All right, folks, because my internet is wonky, I am going to save the Patreon shout-out scroll until the end of the program because I don't want to screen share a motion graphic given the precarity of my connection. But I do want to give a thank you and a plug to our Patreon
All right,
community.
I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's true.
Of course I've seen Bananas, yeah. Obviously.
That is pretty much
with the green shirt.
What he wears in that movie, yeah.
Yeah. Usually I combine this with like a gray shirt, but I guess with the green, yeah, it does kind of look like that. I do want to shout out our Patreon members. Yeah. Thank you guys all for signing up. We are at about 550 Patreon supporters. And so thank you guys all very much. You guys are the backbone of the show. We'll give you your shout out scroll on the way out of here today. But for those who do want to access the Q&A features and the bonus streams, go to patreon.com/DoDissidents, DoDissidents.substack.com, or check out our locals. If you're on Rumble right now, the join button right under the screen takes you to our locals page. We have 475 watching over on Rumble right now, so you can join our locals. We've had a bunch of new locals members sign up as well, and we will have the scroll updated for all new members on Wednesday when Jake returns. Jake had a nice Christmas break because of all these matinee shows we've been doing because he can't work the day shows. So we have been without Jake for a little while, but he'll get you guys all
Fucking
added
slacker.
for Wednesday night. Yeah, exactly. So thank you guys all for signing up. And if you guys would like to go and become a Patreon member, it gets you 2 bonus streams per month. We did one last night that we mentioned we had a lot of fun with. Also, you get access to our weekly post-show Rumble Q&As. Those are normally on Sundays. Obviously, since today's show is a matinee and it's New Year's Eve, we're not doing a Q&A today. We have moved this Sunday matinee to next Wednesday the 3rd. So on Wednesday the 3rd after the show, we'll do a Q&A where all are welcome to watch over on Rumble. Paid members on Patreon, Substack, and locals get call-in access to those. And like I said, you guys have not missed out. We haven't skipped any Q&As because of the holidays. We've just rescheduled them because both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve have fallen on Sundays this month. So Q&A this Wednesday, January 3rd, immediately following the show. Sam, thanks for the $1.99. Chinese spy balloon. Normies were terrified. Oh, yeah, that was... Oh, you're right. That could have been best propaganda of the year. I forgot all about that.
Wasn't that under Trump, though?
No, that was last year. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because you were in India when Bulla co-hosted, and he made a spy balloon graphic with your face on it. So that was in February. It was so long ago, I forgot.
I was out there riding camels.
You are right, Sam. That would have been the right pick. Man, we gave Ryan Grimm a plug for no reason. Damn it. But you are correct. That would have been the pick for best propaganda of the year had we thought of it. So thank you. Good on you. Round of applause for Sam. What a great idea. Yeah, let's hear it. Norm Finkelstein also nailed Mehdi Hassan on X. Oh yeah, he had a bunch of really good ones.
He mastered
the Ben
the
Shapiro
medium
one,
very
that was
quickly.
just like super viral. Yeah. Well, apparently, Norm doesn't actually fire off the tweets from a smartphone. What he does is he sends his ideas to like a publicist. He said this in public. I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, you're not outing him.
No, I'm not outing. I'm not giving away the magic trick, right? I'm not saying how he got the rabbit in the hat. He says he'll like text or email his publicist an idea that he wants to get out there, and then his publicist will suggest to him the best medium for it. So like the way that Shapiro tweet has is, hey, maybe if I re-enroll in college as a freshman, he would agree to debate me. How do you think I should publish that? Should that go on Substack or Facebook? And the guy's like, no, that's good for Twitter. So the publisher definitely gets a point for that as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No, Norm is not.
Knowing Norm, that makes sense.
Sits there with his thumbs getting into rage wars.
How do you make this thing publish on the site?
How do I get the eggplant emoji to show up?
Because this guy is a big fucking eggplant.
Big fucking dick. How do I get the eggplant to show up? All right. Cool Blue. Thanks for the $1.99. Oh, I got that one already. Thank you very much. Pickle the Pirate, thanks for the $5. Zelensky is best propagandist. Got all of Canada to applaud an actual SS soldier. Yeah, kind of. Oh, yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, not bad, but I gotta say the Chinese spy balloon definitely takes it. But thank you. That's not a bad idea, Pickle Pirate. See, that's integrity, because Pickle Pirate gave us $5 and Sam gave us $2, but I picked Sam's idea because I thought it was the better idea, even though it was a smaller donation. See? Who says we're grifters?
Yeah, we have integrity and stuff.
We have $3 fucking on the table. Jeff Horn, thanks for the $2. We need to create a real democracy via technology. 007 says Biden was sniffing Netanyahu's hair. Yeah, that'd be a good graphic. Robert Perkins, thank you for the $5, my friend. Appreciate that very much. Riffsci, thanks for the $5. Last year, we only seemed to need to be worried about Ukraine and Kanye becoming a Nazi. It was a simpler time. Yes, indeed. Derek says, Lifetime Achievement Award to John Pilger. Rest in peace. Yes, rest in peace to John Pilger. He made a great TV documentary that was actually nominated for a BAFTA in 2003 called Palestine is Still the Issue. And so he was on this for much of his life, as well as several other.
Did he literally die today on New Year's Eve, or did he die yesterday?
It may have been yesterday. But it was definitely within the last couple of days, for sure. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. Hello, fellows, says Genitals. Quick recommendation for Gasoline, Snap Your Neck Back, Real Fun Hip Hop album that heavily samples the Warriors. Oh, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Russell would find that fun.
I would.
Ryan Grimm is the year's best propagandist, maybe. Haha, that's Sam. No, I like your idea. I think the Chinese spy balloon is definitely the best idea.
Yeah, we missed it.
Yep, we missed it. We'll admit it.
That's it. Our view counts are going to collapse.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get a cowbell out again for ruthless criticism. $100. Thank you. That's very kind of you, my friend. Take this money and buy yourselves 10 entries into the RFK whale watching sweepstakes, or do something useful with it. The failure of capitalism is the failure of the capitalist class. To demonstrate its continued viability as a ruling class, keep calling out the clowns. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you, and good points for sure. We appreciate that very much. Okay, copying and pasting a Rumble rant, which we will get to in a few minutes, but we still got plenty of show left for you guys. We looked back on 2023, gave our Dissident of the Year awards. Now we will look ahead to 2024. We have 10 predictions, 5 from each of us. And so Russell will go first. This is a sort of sequel to last year's prediction. So this is Russell's first of 5 for 2024.
This is the Empire Strikes Back of predictions.
Right.
All right. So I believe this is the year that the Tesla story comes apart. Companies have stories, and when those stories are intact and people believe in them, they invest and they put in money and their products sell. I believe what's going on with Tesla is going to pierce the idea, very much like Apple. Their brand is built around, Elon Musk said it himself at an event. Do you want the best car? Okay, well, when the wheels are literally coming off of these cars, can you continue to say these are the best cars? You have now senators demanding that Tesla order a recall based on a recent Reuters report. Cybertruck wound up, after a prolonged wait, costing a lot more than it was supposed to and offering a lot less in terms of features and range. It's also been getting terrible safety evaluations from consumer safety groups. You also have a lot of competition, not just from Western car companies, but from Chinese car companies are starting to manufacture very high selling electric vehicles. And on top of that, the market for electric vehicles is starting to decelerate. Now, for companies like Ford and GM, no problem. Just sell more gas-powered vehicles. They can shift gears like that. Ford already pulled back on its EV production in response to the market. Tesla is an EV company. They don't have a gas-powered car division. So, in my opinion, next year is going to be very rough for Tesla. That is the year that the narrative is going to come apart. It's going to be very much like as if all of a sudden Apple computers, kind of like Keaton's computer, started fucking up a lot, right? And then the whole Apple story of quality and reliable engineering started to come apart. As we see in that Reuters article, that's always been a myth with Tesla. And some people said when we reviewed the predictions, oh, you just hate Elon. I mean, as far as his class of scumbag, robber baron billionaires go, I like him better than Gates and Zuckerberg. I mean, I like him better than his peers in the scumbag billionaire space. It's nothing personal about Elon. I've just always thought that he was more showman than person really I never saw him as a Steve Jobs. I never saw him as somebody who was actually delivering what he claimed he was delivering. I always saw him as a bullshit artist. And I think that's becoming more clear.
All right, my first of 5 predictions. This is a bold one. It's hard to predict. I mean, as you will see in my last of these 5, it's tough to say what 2024 brings. These are very chaotic and very uncertain times. But we had a super chatter earlier in the stream say something to this effect, and I am going to predict that Biden will not be on the November ticket. I just don't see it. Maybe call this a hunch, but I just can't see us getting to a place where in almost a year from now, that guy is actually on the ballot. And you could say it's because of his health. You could say it's because he's falling apart. But I think what really puts it over the top is that he is alienating the base of the party that the Democrats might feel they can trick into voting for a Newsom figure. Because Biden now, with his response to the Israel war, has completely alienated the Arab vote, which makes Michigan almost impossible to win, and that could be the whole race right there. And then young people, he's actually losing to Donald Trump, and that has a lot to do with the student debt, but it also has a lot to do with the Israel war. And so they might feel like, it's one thing to alienate the moderates. You can always kind of win the moderates back at the last minute. That's why they're moderates. They're undecided. They don't pay much attention. But when you start seeing your numbers collapse with these core pieces of the base in ways that they might not with a replacement like Newsom, because they figure, well, his hands aren't as dirty on this issue because he wasn't president, they may feel that's what they need to do. And I have a sense that they're going to do that. And I think the Hunter Biden legal woes give them a great excuse. This is a hunch, but it's just hard for me with a crystal ball to see him being on the ballot in November. So that would be
I would co-sign that. I'm with you.
All right. There we go. All right. Russell has another election prediction.
Everybody who watches the show knows my take on this. It is my belief that by hook or by crook, by court or by CIA guy with piano wire, they're not going to let this guy be the president again.
Yeah, right.
That is my take. That continues to be my take. That the deep state, the establishment, the people who really run shit, they're not letting Donald Trump be the president again, no matter what it takes.
Yeah. I have not rendered a prediction on who the president will be because, just like Tucker Carlson said in that, very ominous speech that he gave, which we covered on our show a few months ago, I don't think it's going to be Biden. I don't think he's going to be on the ticket. Trump would almost certainly win if the election were today, but the election's not today. The Republican establishment and the permanent establishment has plenty of time to swap him out for someone who they like more. So it's really difficult to say who the next president is going to be. I don't have a guess for that, which is kind of weird going into 2024. The big question is who's going to win? It's impossible to say, to the point where I couldn't even render a guess. But it's
very difficult because there are just so many factors involved that you've never seen before. It's not really a normal election in any sense of the word. I mean, the elections have just been getting more and more extra democratic, so to speak. So that introduces so many pieces onto the board, because you just didn't used to have elections where the establishment would be unhappy with either of the candidates running. It was always establishment chosen candidates, whatever, whoever wins, we're fine, right? Now you got this Donald Trump chaos factor that introduces a lot of uncertainty into the picture. And then, I mean, Joe Biden, you've never had anything like that either, where you have a guy who's clearly has his brain leaking out his fucking ears, and they're propping him up because they don't know who else to run. There's never been anything like this.
No, of course not. Of course not. I will make another election prediction, though, and that's single digits for RFK Jr. We've already seen RFK's polling start to decline. When he first announced his independent run, a few polls had him in the mid to high teens. One or two even had him in the low to mid 20s. But latest round of polling has Trump and Biden above 40 points, with RFK in the mid single digits. I think it's 50-50 whether he'll break 5%. I don't think he will break 10. I am predicting he will finish less than 10% because he's just not doing enough to differentiate himself from these two major parties in enough of a way that's going to give more than 10% of people a reason to go vote for him over one of their preferred two major candidates. To the extent that he does pull support, I have said all along, it is my belief that he will take more votes from Biden than from Trump. Polling so far seems to bear that out. So in a sense, that's one prediction I've made that's already somewhat come true. Obviously, the votes aren't counted yet. We're still almost a year away. But the people who really see that Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken and Jake Sullivan are leading the country and the world on a road to infinite war and hell are going to, at the end of the day, vote for the candidate they think can beat Joe Biden, and that's going to be Donald Trump. That's why I don't think Trump is going to lose that many votes to RFK. I think RFK will get more disaffected, lefty, liberal types than MAGA conservatives. But I don't think there are enough of those disaffected lefty liberal types who are going to be who are not going to be scared into backing Biden in the end. And so I just don't see more than 10% of the vote going to RFK. I think he could get 5. That's 50-50. But if I had to wager a guess, I'd say an election night, you see RFK, and here, I'll be very, very exact, which is something that Russell said he didn't want to do. He didn't want to say too much, didn't want to talk too much. I'm going to guess Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
I'm being better about that this year.
Yeah, you're better about that this year. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say he ends up with 5.5% of the vote.
All right, I'm gonna do a tribute to the late great John McLaughlin. RFK becomes the Republican nominee.
Yeah,
they swap out Biden for Gavin Newsom. Discuss.
There you go. It's an interesting theory, but I don't think that will happen.
That was exactly what the McLaughlin show was. It was just all like parlor games with insider bullshit. That's all they did.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that show for sure. All right. Russell has another election prediction.
Yeah. Okay. So no matter who it is, I don't think the GOP can lose. I mean, they're really gonna have to have to bend over triple backward to lose to this fucking crew. I mean, it's possible, but the odds are not in that direction. The House, yeah, I mean, the Democrats have that by a hair at this point. They'll probably lose the House. But I do believe because of abortion, you'll get a split decision. If it wasn't for abortion, it would be all three branches. It would be a clean sweep. But I think the voters will leave the Democrats with one branch of government to have a check on abortion.
Yeah, that would be my guess too. I know conventional wisdom is that the Republicans are a lock for the Senate, but I do agree with Russell that the voters are going to want some kind of split verdict. The Republicans have hurt themselves most in the statewide races since the overturning of Roe versus Wade. It's hard to imagine the Republicans losing the House if they're poised to win the popular vote, which I think they are. I think they will win the popular vote. So if they win the popular vote, I don't see how they lose the House, which leaves the Senate as the only body that Democrats could retain control over. And even in a statewide ballot measure in a place like Kansas, abortion rights win 60-40. So if there's one chamber that the Democrats have a chance to hold, I think it is the Senate. So I would co-sign that. All right. There's been a lot of talk about banning TikTok, both from Democrats and Republicans. But I have a feeling they will not ban TikTok. I think TikTok will live to see another year in the US of A. I don't think it's going to be banned. I think the way they're handling this is they are just throwing off problematic, untrustworthy people like Glenn Greenwald. I think that's how they're going to handle it. I think they're just
They will not be inviting Alex Jones anytime soon to come.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think they're just going to censor people on TikTok. I don't think they're going to ban the platform outright. I think if they were going to do that, they'd have done it already. It's not to say there's no will to do it, but that seems like if they were going to pull the trigger on that, they'd have done it by now. And they seem to have revealed what their TikTok strategy is, which is, leave it up there for the NPC role players and just take anybody off who's going to, complicate the U.S. war machine's narrative. So there will be draconian TikTok censorship. There already has been. But there has been chirping on Capitol Hill from both parties about banning it outright, and I do not think that will happen. I think TikTok survives 2024 in the United States.
I think you're right about that. I think if, in theory, which I'm not in favor of this theory, but if Donald Trump were to win, I think he'd make a move to ban it.
Yeah, that's possible, yes.
And even if it's not Donald Trump, if the GOP take Congress and the presidency, they could push to ban it because it's this Chinese
it's China,
psyop, right? Yeah.
Right.
But not this
But
year.
that'll be 2025.
Not 2024, yeah.
Exactly. I think it survives this year. All right, Russell, we got 2 more each.
All right, so a lot of us would have expected the commercial real estate market to have collapsed already. This is why it has not. Commercial mortgages are not like home mortgages. They don't come due every month. They come due every few years. A high preponderance of these mortgages, I'm not clear on why this is, but a lot of them are timed to come due in 2024. Now, a lot of some landlords of commercial buildings have walked away already, handed the keys back to the bank and just taken the losses. Some of them have held out. Like if you're wondering why the rental prices on these commercial spaces have not collapsed, the investors are between a rock and a hard place. They have gotten into terms on these mortgages that do not give them the flexibility to lower rents and still be able to meet the terms of the mortgage. The margins on commercial real estate are actually very tight. So they're probably hoping for some kind of bailout. They've been praying there would be some kind of deus ex machina that would bail them out. They've just kind of been holding out for these mortgages to come due, hoping something changes. But clearly, post-COVID, the world is never going back to the way that it was. You're never going to need office space in city centers the way that you did before. So as these mortgages come due this year, and a lot of these smaller regional banks are holding these loans. So the first part of my prediction is you see a collapse in commercial real estate. The second part of the prediction is that's going to have a ripple effect through regional banks, and you're probably going to see a need for a lot of bailouts.
All right. Now, this one, I'm doing what? See, this is probably the riskiest prediction I'll make because Russell already bet and lost on this year. But I am going to predict a Ukraine peace deal by April. I think this will go on another few months, but I don't think there is the political will within this country to get funding passed beyond there. And I think that within the next 4 or so months, it's just going to be unviable to keep this war going for Ukraine's part. And I think they will come to some sort of peace agreement that's likely to resemble much of what the first one would have looked like, which could have saved, 500,000 people from death and severe injury. So it's a tragic situation, but I do think this war will end before the summer. So by April, could be March. My guess is no later than April 30th. You will have a ceasefire in Ukraine. Now, Russell bet on a peace deal this year and lost, so this is a risky one for me because you never know. But I do think that this war does not have another year in it, and I don't even think it has another 6 months in it because the support has already dried up. They can't get the money out the door now. So right now, it's only a matter of exhausting what they've got, and they don't have much more.
If it were not an election year, I wouldn't say the odds are for it, but I would say the odds would be better that they'd say fuck it rather than to lose to Russia and start sending U.S. troops in there. In an election year, I can't imagine that they'll do that. So you're probably right.
Yeah. That's my guess. All right, final predictions for the year. Russell has one, and then I've got one. So here's Russell's, not to be construed as financial advice, of course.
Not to be construed as financial advice, but our crypto hogs in our viewership, and we do have some. You know why. You've got the halvening coming in April, where they have the Bitcoin, which actually is going to wipe out a lot of the smaller miners. Because it's gonna cost a lot more to mint Bitcoin, but more importantly, the SEC is going to rule on Bitcoin ETFs, and it looks like they're going to approve them. So the last time Bitcoin went on one of its periodic, crazy, irrational exuberance tulip mania runs during the pandemic, it made it to 70. So between the halving and the ETFs, there's no reason to think it won't hit at least 100. It could even go over that. Now, I have not changed my opinion about crypto, and I know I'll be at odds with some of our audience on this. I still think it's monopoly money. I still think it's not rooted or based in anything. Now, people will say, well, what's other money based in? It's based in the national economy of the country that issues it. There's something there. There's literally nothing really there with these digital currencies. But, yeah, I mean, there's nothing there with a Picasso, right? But people will pay millions of dollars for it. I see it more as that. It's more like the art market. It's worth what people think it's worth. So with these ETFs introduced and with the change in available Bitcoin, yeah, I think it's likely to surpass 100,000. Which is
right, what's it at now? It's in the 40s,
financial
right?
advice. Yeah, right at this moment, it's been hanging around 42, 43. It got as high as 48 in the last 30 days, and that's before these catalysts have really hit. These catalysts are going to hit. I think the ETF decision is expected in early January. But Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, they're prone to these manias. Like, I don't think it's rational that it's going to hit 100,000, but I think it will. You're also seeing signs. As soon as the Fed said that they were going to cut interest rates next year, you started to see the retail Robinhood investors who got burned at the end of the pandemic and lost all their gains. You're starting to see them come back in to the market. I'm starting to see micro caps having irrational runs like you haven't seen in a couple of years. So that whole mania is kind of starting up again. Here's I'm not going to state this as a prediction. I thought about it, but I'm gonna there's a soft prediction, okay? I think that we could see a recession this year, with an off-the-hook stock market, just like we saw it during the pandemic, because the stock market has become completely disconnected from the real economy. Because I think you see a recession and the Fed is going to accelerate the cuts in interest rates, which the stock market is going to like. So even as you're seeing rising unemployment and collapsing consumer spending, that'll send the stock market through the roof, especially because over the last couple of years, everyone thought there was going to be this collapse in all assets. I mean, Michael Burry called that wrong. He predicted that for the end of the year. If you don't know, he was the Big Short guy.
Right.
I think he got high on his own farts there. He got a little full of himself. He got out over his skis. But everyone expected this collapse in all assets, so everyone was keeping their money on the sidelines. Now that it's looking like that's not going to happen, that's a lot of money to come back into the market, and it's going to be completely divorced from the economy on the ground.
All right. So one more prediction for 2024. I just amended this in the banner because I thought it was originally a little too vague, and this is a tough prediction to be specific about. It's even tougher to be specific about it here in East Berlin. But in keeping with Tucker Carlson's monologue from a few months ago, where he said, don't think you're going to get through 2024 with a nice little presidential election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Anything can happen. The powers that be are always 10 steps ahead of you. So I will say expect the unexpected, Deus Ex Machina in 2024. Last couple of election cycles, we've had a wrench thrown into the cycle well into the year. The last one was the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and then the one before that was obviously a once-in-a-century pandemic. These things tend to happen in threes, so on a superstitious level, I can predict an unexpected game-changing event in 2024. And then on a less than superstitious level, I will justify my case for real. These are very, very uncertain times. These are very, very desperate times. These are very high stakes and serious times that we're living in right now. We started off this live stream by saying one of the big winners of this year was the emergent BRICS partnership. That means that the powers that be know that they are under threat. And when they know they are under threat, they take that very, very seriously. In 2016, they didn't realize they were under threat. They were sure that Brexit would lose. They were sure that Trump would lose. They thought this was just a bubbling up of populist rage that they could suppress and keep the boat steady on course. They don't feel that secure at the moment. And so don't be surprised if we are having a conversation in the run-up to the 2024 presidential vote that is completely different from anything we're talking about now. That's not to say there's going to be another worldwide crisis. You don't know what it's going to be. That was Tucker's point, is that you never know what the future holds. And so I admit that's a bit of a punt, but you'll know it if and when it happens, whether or not I'm right.
If there was ever a time that was set up for a Black Swan event, it is this moment. Yes, there could all predictions subject to Black Swan event, we could say.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. Oh, we forgot our mailbag.
Yeah, the mailbag. I was going to say, man.
All right, so we'll take a couple super chats, then we'll read our mailbag, and then we'll take a few more super chats, and then we will wish you guys a happy new year. Tusker, thanks for the $5. Yes, sadly, John Pilger passed away last night. So last night was when he died. Thank you, Tusker. Where's Skill? Norman on Warriors. Why all the fighting? Baseball? I suppose the red vests are a bit dapper. Yeah. Thank you for that. Russ and Kirk going to be fun. Yeah, that should be a fun time. That's in a couple days. So you're not hosting until Monday, but you're there for the Wednesday and Friday show to kind of get a sense of how it goes, right?
I believe that's
your
my
on the job training.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's your understanding. Watch you get there. All right, you're on tonight.
I decided to leave early.
So you can handle this, right? That'll be fun. Kurt Russell romancing the Stones. Kurt Russell and romancing the Stones. Thank you, Eric.
Well, I'll tell you, you're going to get a lot more like nerdy references than you would normally get. I could tell because last time I was on there, he started dropping Lord of the Rings references, and I could tell it was because he knew there was someone there who would get it. Jimmy's not a pop culture guy. He's not into it.
Yeah, I could tell. Sparky, thanks for the $10. I was surprised Jimmy Dore didn't know the term lot lizard as he grew up during the golden age of trucking, the 1970s. It was in streetwise vernacular then. Clever comment, needlessly snipped on. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't think they were going to keep in.
I'm going to give him a talking to when I get out there because I don't appreciate that shit. You don't step on my lines.
Well, he didn't step on it, he just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Right? He said, what do you mean? Yeah, they kept that in the clip. In the what was that clip? Was that the climate change clip? They kept my Uber and Lyft bit in there, which I didn't think they would because I thought that was just crosstalk between the segments. But yeah, that was cool. I like that made the clip because I've talked about Uber and Lyft plenty of times on this show. But thank you, Sparky. Laura Powers, thanks for the $20 super sticker. It's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Sparky, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Thank you. And for predicting, focus first on the winning party. Well, I think we have. I mean, I think the Republican Party is going to be the winning party. It's a question of who that's going to be and who they're going to beat on the Democratic side. Yeah, I think the Republicans take the White House. I don't see there being any real way for the Democrats.
I don't think we were at all cagey about that.
Right. Charlie asks, Russ and Keaton, are you now able to make it with just Do Dissident money? You have mentioned that you want that to happen. I hope you can in the future. Happy New Year and support Do Dissidents. Well, thank you very much.
I'm down to like 2 soapy hand jobs a week at the bus station.
Yeah, right. This is now our main gig. I would say this is now my main gig. It's not my only gig still, but we are on track to make it our only gig. Thanks very much to you guys and all of our friends and peers in the space who have helped us out over the past year. So yes, we are getting there. I would say this is our main job now, not my only job, but my main one. I definitely do this more than driving people's food around for sure.
I'm licensed to guide in New Orleans. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm not really planning on it, to be honest, but I don't have kids. I don't have a family. Like me, I can get by on a chopped cheese. That was an in joke for Tusker there.
There you go. Cool Blue. Historic average combining for all candidates outside the 2 major parties is estimated at 6% since U.S. popular vote first recorded in 1824. RFK Jr. says 3 at most. All right, that's an interesting piece of data. I think he'll do a little better. I think third parties will do a little better this year, but not much.
It's a weird time.
Yeah, I mean, this is only the second time in history where we're having 2 people who have held the office before run against each other. Happened, I think, in the 1890s once. I forget who did it. But somebody lost and then came back and tried to run again, and they lost again. But, yeah, this is the first time in well over 100 years where you have 2 presidents running back-to-back. Neither of them were really any good. And so that's going to create a certain disaffection amongst the population where I think it creates a unique opportunity for third parties. And it's a real shame and a real failure of third parties that they were not able to field any candidates who could really take advantage of that opportunity.
Well, that was like in this last election in New York City in the George Floyd moment. the progressives they couldn't come up with a credible candidate. I can't remember what her name was. There was a big article, might have been Ryan Grimm who wrote it. I could be wrong, but there was a big article about how the wokeness within the staff just collapsed the whole campaign. Because everyone was busy accusing everyone of shit.
Yeah, I forget who that was, but you're right.
Everyone was too busy being offended to run a campaign.
Yeah. What's that? Hold on, my kids want to tell me something.
Well,
there is some paper in there. Yeah, thank you.
This is going to play very well with our review. We're going to be doing a dink comment.
Yeah.
And this plays very well into it.
I did. Of course I noticed that. That's the one you got for Christmas. That's why we got it for Christmas.
See, this is why.
Russell's a sink.
I'm a sink. I'm a sink. Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to be addressing that.
Mommy? Yeah, we are. Beautiful. Sawyer, can you shut the door, please, bud? Thank you. All right. Cool Blue. Every party switch since 1992 for U.S. president. What's that? All right. Good.
I'm a dink.
Right,
I
There you
eat
go.
candy corn for breakfast.
Every party switch since 1992 for U.S. president came with the trifecta. Party which won U.S. popular vote for U.S. House also won U.S. president. Okay, and you're saying that there's never been an outlier for the Senate in those times. All right. I mean, you definitely could be right. Like I said, I'm not really confident in any of these outcomes.
Did they ever outlaw Roe v. Wade right before the election?
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, under
things
2022,
always happen until the exception.
They always happen until the exception, and 2022 was as prime a year for Republicans to sweep as you could possibly imagine, and they couldn't do it because of Roe. Partly because of Roe and partly because of candidate choice.
Right.
But they blew it, and so anything could happen. I'm not supremely confident in my outcome predictions beyond I think the Republicans will take the White House. That's the only thing I'm pretty confident in. Sparky, thanks for the $10. If RFK Jr. continues to dig while in the Zionist hole, he'll take many fewer votes from Trump, who, despite nominally pro-Israel, has so far been relatively moderate on the Palestine issue. I think that's a good point. In terms of like moderate, I mean, he's moderate in the sense that he doesn't like Netanyahu anymore because Netanyahu wouldn't back him on the 2020 stuff. But in terms of like his actual stance on the issue, he's obviously far from moderate. But I do think generally you're right. He's not going to take that many votes from Trump because the people who take seriously the job of bouncing Joe Biden out of the Oval Office, they're going to coalesce behind Trump. You're going to have a lot of coalescing behind Trump, or, as Russell, keeping in line with what he thinks is going to happen, whoever the Republican ends up being. All right. We have plenty more here. Cool Blue, thanks to the $4.99, clarifying party which won the popular vote for U.S. House, also won U.S. president in every election since 2000, no more than a 3-point spread. You know, Cool Blue, I've said this in the past. I really maybe think you should join us for the election night show. I think you have a lot to
as long as you have a whiteboard and a marker.
Yeah, you need a whiteboard and a marker for sure. All right, we'll take 3 more. Then we will take the mailbag, and then we'll do the rest of them. So we will catch all of them. Don't worry. And we have a couple Rumble rants. We haven't forgotten about you either, although I did not put the Rumble
Guy is
screen
very,
up,
very generous for a commie.
He is indeed, and he
I'm
thinks
starting
that
to rethink this whole communism thing.
he thinks that he's. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, because I didn't open the Rumble screen for a while, so I think I missed one Rumble rant that I'm copying and pasting right now. Beautiful. Ruthless criticism for $20. Thank you. Ukraine peace deal will not happen. West will not accept Russian terms, and Russia doesn't want peace. It wants a stalemate that locks gains. Demilitarization will be enabled by constantly expending their resources. Could be right. Could be right. I just said peace deal because I knew you would disagree, and I knew I could get another $20 out of you if I said that. So thank you. Appreciate it. But no, I mean, you absolutely could be right. Like I said, that's the one I'm really least confident in. That's the one I'm least confident in, for sure. Cool Blue, again, thanks for the $4.99. Final 2023 comment on Due Dissidents. May 2024 be a better year for us all. Thank you. And Hard Lens Media, it will overcome, bounce back. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And go subscribe to Hard Lens on their Rumble channel, just in case everybody go over to Hard Lens Media's Rumble. It's important that we all build our presence over on those kinds of channels. So go over there and do that. But I think they'll be good. I think they'll be good. Thank you, Cool Blue. Taki Hamleni, this is for $550 of something, but it's got to be a $50 donation because it's pink. So why don't we give Taki
I'm assuming it's the Turkish
cowbell.
lira.
Oh, hello from Turkey. Yeah, good call. I didn't read the message yet. There you go.
All right, sure.
Beautiful. Thank you again for being the voice of truth, especially regarding Gaza. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for the generous
that means
donation. It does. Indeed. All right, let's open up our mailbag. We have one funny comment and then one serious comment or question that we'll respond to over the course of the week. We do these every Sunday now, so funny comment from my absence. I like Keaton, but truth is I don't miss his piercing voice drilling my ears. That was the show that Tusker filled in for me because I had a little bit of a family emergency. So thanks again to Tusker. I know we thanked you last time, but thank you doubly. And Tusker will be sitting in on Wednesday because Russell will at the very least be late Wednesday because Russell's going to be sitting in on Jimmy's show. And we start at 8 and Jimmy's show usually ends around 8, maybe a few minutes later. but Tusker will be guesting for that show. Maybe just me and Tusker, maybe me and Tusker for the first hour, and then the three of us for the rest of the show.
I just need enough time to wipe the coke off my nose.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So
when in Rome.
You will not be rid of me for a while there. But, it's funny. People always say I have a good radio voice. That's the first comment I've heard about my voice.
That was one of the strangest comments ever.
Maybe they were joking. But anyway, this is in response to our Dinks segment where we talked about the Dink influencers. I'm going to put this up on the screen, but Russell, you're going to have to full screen it so you can read it because the font is too small for me.
Yeah. All right. So... I don't mind people getting mad about stuff that I did say, but a lot of people seem to have misinterpreted that segment. And I went back and watched just to make sure.
And this is a reasonable comment. This is not an angry comment.
This comment I picked because it's pretty much what I agree with this comment. So it'll help to clarify. All right. So this is Patrick Holt, 2270. It may not be conscious narcissism, but it could be structural narcissism in the same way that capitalism imposes structural greed on companies and their employees who are required to profit maximize and withhold possible generosity as a matter of routinized procedure. Consumerism ideologically or as an unconscious value set is the product of indoctrination by advertising. It's not the result of personal moral failing. It's the habit of moral failing generated by the advertising stage of the process of valorization. And yes, you're absolutely right. A lot of this is rationalization of the choice imposed by low pay and high rents to not have kids because they can't afford to, and they're denied the stability and security which would otherwise trigger the decision to try to get pregnant. Here's the soundtrack for this situation. Who's going to love you when you're old and fat and ugly by After the Fire? All right. So
thanks for that comment.
Thank you very much. That was a very well thought out comment. So it was very strange. A lot of times in these comments, you get people like arguing with things you didn't say or ignoring things that you did say. We said right early on that it was basically trying to put a good face on an economic situation. And yet you had a lot of people saying people can't afford. Yes, people can't afford it. Now, like the idea of like judging people. Okay, first of all, I think this is something me and Keaton are very much alike in. I could give a fuck what anyone else does. Live your best life. Do your thing. I don't care. In terms of not like understanding that, people can be happy without kids and sometimes they're miserable with kids. Let me tell you why I made the choices that I made in life. So my grandfather was like your classic, like old school Jew, which means you get married and that's it. Your life is over. You do everything for your family. You never do anything for yourself ever again. So he just worked for the family, and yet he had wanted to be an architect. And so his whole den was full of drawings and things that he would do that were never going to go beyond that den. When I would tell him I wanted to travel, he would, because he had been doing this to himself his entire life, he would tell me, well, what do you want to do that for? And then as soon as I would do it,
my kind of guy.
What was it like? What was it like? No, he wanted to.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
But he couldn't. He couldn't. He was too tied down. My grandmother was like this castrating classic, shrew. So, she would always guilt him if he wanted to go anywhere. So he never got to travel. So he had this basement full of maps and globes and, but he never really got to go anywhere. So I got to look at that. And I said, not me, brother. So I didn't live that life. And what I said in the video was, yeah, man, I mean, that wouldn't have been right for me. So I'd be the last person to say, you can't be happy not doing that. But at the same time, see, this is the crazy thing. And this is part of my perspective on it. If you asked my grandfather if he would do it differently, he would have said no. He adored his family. He loved his family. He didn't see that as something he shouldn't have done. He didn't view his life that way. He didn't talk with those kinds of regrets. So my personal experience is that people who don't have a lot of a passion, right? Something that really drives them, as I do and always have. So I'm happy without that, and I'd feel inhibited by it. Most people are just not like that. And family is what gives them that sense of meaning and purpose. Certainly, if you look at the video we showed of those dinks, again, and this is something we said in the video, it's not like they're talking about doing something very meaningful with their lives. They're talking about all the empty consumerism they can explore because they don't have kids. Well, so naturally, that's going to get old. I mean, nobody's that shallow. I mean, eventually you're going to get tired of that. And, being able to get as many snacks as you want is going to be small comfort for not having created any sense of purpose or meaning in your life. And I'm not saying that has to be kids, but it certainly can't be that. Certainly can't be watching the game and trips to Costco. I mean, how sad if you only live once that's what you do. But we also had some people saying, hey, how do you know? How do you know? So, all right. To be totally fair, there has been a lot of research on this subject, which I pulled a little bit of. Okay, so you have, where did it go? Okay, so I want to be totally honest. Many parents are happier than non-parents, but not in the U.S., except for Keaton. On the face of it, parenting is a very poor route to take if your final destination is happiness. Having children is an open invitation to the universe to visit misery upon you. So to get to the meat of it, and yet a new study of the life satisfaction of 22 Western countries has found that in some places, parents are happier than non-parents. A Council of Contemporary Families briefing paper based on a longer peer-reviewed report to be published in September argues that parental discontent is neither global nor inevitable. In some countries, humans with offspring actually report higher levels of well-being than those without. Quote, our results indicate that the parental happiness penalty varies substantially from country to country. In fact, some countries, such as Norway and Hungary, parents are actually happier than non-parents. That is also true on average of parents in such places as Portugal, Finland, Sweden, and Spain. At the other end of the list is a highly developed Western democracy whose citizens with children report being significantly less content than citizens without. Yes, cue the gasps. It's the U.S. Of the 22 countries the researchers studied, America has the biggest happiness differential between parents and the child free. So, hey, sure. And the article goes on to discuss, which, common sense. Yes, countries that have more vacation time and that provide daycare, people with children report being happier than people without. In the U.S., which is the freak show of the Western world and its absolute lack of support for parents, even as it goes on about its family values, yeah, sure, because you're put in such a bind as a parent, and that's why, yeah, economically. Even if I were more inclined to have kids today, would I have kids today? No, man. My hat's off to you, brother, man. That is a bold choice in with the state of these here United States. So, I don't think either one of us were slamming people without kids or saying nobody can be happy, or certainly not saying that the economics of it don't make it very difficult for people to have children.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But I think there's an element of what you're seeing in those videos, because remember, those videos are not dropping in a vacuum. They're dropping in this kind of Instagram culture of NPC trends and out of control narcissism. So to say that's not an element of the way it's being represented in those videos, I don't think you can say that either. I feel like there's something else going on there in addition to those things.
Yeah, I mean, and all I would add to that is, for me, and again, it's for me, and I said that, over and over again in the segment too. I mean, it's certainly not for everybody. I know a lot of people who don't have kids and are perfectly happy with that choice, and that's fine. That's great. Like I said, the only reason I think anybody would possibly care what other people think of how they live their lives, or care how other people live their lives, is if they're not happy about their own choices. So to me, as long as you feel all right about your own choices, why would you give a shit about it, about what, how
cares?
anybody else chooses to live their life, right? Who cares? But in terms of like having kids and the sacrifice of that, not being able to travel as much, not being able to buy, you know, whatever you want at Costco without thinking what your kid wants from Costco, you know, like that kind of stuff. There is something, despite the difficulty of it, there is something very liberating about it, in the sense that whatever happens to me, or any of my projects, or any of my goals, or any of my ambitions, whatever happens to me, having kids means that as long as I can and must put food on the table for them and take care of them and see to it that they are as happy as they can be, I have a purpose now, no matter what happens. So if, God forbid, knock on wood, obviously, you don't want this to happen, God forbid this project should go belly up, yeah, I would be very upset about it for a period of time. Would my life be over? Would I be devastated? No, because at the end of the night, I took my kids in and I know that my job is to take care of them as best I can. So that means that whatever happens to me and however upset I get about it, I still have a purpose, which is them. And that's part of why ultimately I don't really let, you know, trolls and comments get to me too much, because ultimately my wife and kids are the only three people whose opinion of me I wouldn't wipe my ass with at the end of the day, right? So it's liberating in that sense. Like, yes, there is a sense of it that's limiting, but there's an aspect of it that's limiting, but there's an aspect of it that's very freeing as well. That's what makes it scary too. It's scary to care about someone more than yourself because they're outside of you and there's only so much you can do to protect and control them. Whereas you have at least a, you know, physical sense of control over yourself. But it's also freeing, in the sense that you become not the most important thing in your life. So you feel like whatever happens to you, as long as you have a family, that creates a meaning in and of itself that never goes away. No matter what happens to you, no matter what breaks you get or don't get, or no matter what goes your way or doesn't go your way. If I had to drive delivery 13 hours a day to, you know, take care of my family, I'd do it. I wouldn't like doing it as much as I like doing this, but at the end of the day, as long as I have my family, I have a reason to do it, which means I have a purpose, I have a meaning, I have a reason to go on. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
See now, and that's what I was addressing in my video. I mean, hey, the stats are against my observation, so I'll you know, I will cede to the stats. My personal experience, maybe that's who I'm around, maybe that's who I attract, maybe that's who I'm attracted to. My personal experience, I don't know anybody who has kids who doesn't have that view. Like what you just articulated, that's what I hear from them. I've asked people with kids, like, hey man, like, don't you, especially the guys, like, hey man, you don't ever like look to the horizon, you know? No. They're always like, hey, no, that's what gives my life meaning. That's what gives my life purpose. That's what I hear. Now, for me, I am not that type, but I understand why people would value that so highly. And that is my experience of parents, that once they're parents, it changes things for them. It just changes the way they look at things, and that becomes what they value.
Of course, and that's not an easy adjustment to make. That doesn't necessarily happen overnight, right? I mean, you know, it's hard, especially for dads. Like in my experience, it was a little hard because like mothers have this like biological bond with their kids. They grow them, and then when they birth them, they feed them with their own bodies and stuff like that.
Right.
Whereas dads don't have that same biological bond to the kid. And so for me, as someone who, you know, was always lukewarm on babies, it really took until they started growing up a little bit to really bond with them. I mean, I love them. I cared for them, obviously. But now they're like my best buds. Whereas until they could talk a little bit and develop a personality and a sense of humor, it was a little tough. So there is a transition there for sure. And it could be a bit of a mindfuck at times. But as long as you know it's worth it, and it is, I promise to all new dads, it's worth it. You'll get through it, and you'll be much happier and much more fulfilled for it. That would be a nice note to end on, except we got super chats to read. Got money to take in.
That would be such a nice life-affirming way to do to end our last show of the year.
Last show of the year, but we do have business to take care of. So Sparky, thanks for the $5. As a comic, Jivy should have known to play it off and look it up later. Well, that's what I do. Sometimes if I don't get Russell's reference, I just laugh anyway.
Well, you know what I could tell you, and I don't feel like I'm giving away private things. Getting to know Jimmy, he's very curious. If you say something that he doesn't know, he'll follow up. He
likes to learn.
He's
Like,
off the air too. Yeah, he's
like
curious.
I gave my Uber and Lyft line as just by the way, just as an aside, and then he kept asking me about it.
Right,
I guess he's curious about it. Yeah. Indeed. Lorian Brightbill, thanks for the $9.99. So sell my Bitcoin at 100K and buy ammo and canned goods. Got it. So sell my Bitcoin. There you go. You said the same thing twice, but thank you. Yes, that's not financial advice, but that is up to you. If you would choose to do that, that's your call. I think this is Dave's super chat, Dave Morrison. Chappelle's new special, The Dreamer, is out today on Netflix. Going right over to my mom's to watch.
I saw the Rolling Stone headline.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know.
They're very upset about it, so it's probably good.
I'll have to watch it. I didn't even know it was out. Is that like a surprise drop, or was that being advertised for a while?
It was scheduled.
Yo, you know what looks good? That new True Detective spin-off series, Night Country or whatever.
Yeah, that has Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster, yeah, it looks good. Yeah. Got to catch that one. Reports are coming out that networks are afraid Palestinian protesters will disrupt Times Square tonight. Get them, fam. Yeah, I hope there are protests tonight.
Interesting.
There should be protests.
I can tell you that would be very difficult unless you really do your planning in advance. Like they'd almost already have to be in the pen.
Yeah,
now.
they corral you. They freeze you in place for hours at Times Square.
You got to be there for hours. That's why no New Yorkers do it.
And you don't move. You don't move to go to the bathroom.
Right.
Like you
You're
bring
just
pants
inside these pens.
Yeah. Bring pants.
I mean, the upside is it'll be very hard for the cops to get to them if they are planted in the crowd already.
Yeah, it's a protest, and all they're going to do is chant and protest. I mean, got a fucking right to do that.
Sure.
I see Trump winning big in the general, but the deep state will find a way to take him out after. Plane crash, food poisoning. There you go. I think they will, if they're going to do something like that, and I mean, they could do that anytime, obviously. You can't speculate, but there are machinations that the Republicans can try to pull to just get him off the ticket in other ways that I think we will see. I mean, we're already seeing some of that with the ballot revocation, and there'll be other things. There's other things we don't know about yet. We're just a bunch of dumb laymen. They know how the system works. They're inside it. We don't. We learn about these things after the fact. Oh, 14th Amendment, Section 3 says they can remove them. Who the fuck knew that? Nobody heard anything about that until they started doing it.
And hey, this is bound to go to SCOTUS. They have to rule on it. Don't be surprised if they rule against them. In the end, those folks are establishment too.
Yeah, they could. They could. Skull and bones. Jorge Acosta, $9.99. Thank you for that donation. Back from the road, one less food delivery gig. Thanks for the show. Thank you, Back from the road. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, Shine the Light. Thanks for the $10. Happy New Year, Keaton and Russell. We appreciate the Do Dissident show, and Russell's on the street activism. We all need to do more of that and bring flyers. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I will be hitting the road in New Hampshire in just a few weeks, thanks to you guys who made that happen with our donation drive. So thank you for that. And I will be in, the Granite State? Yeah, in a few weeks.
Granite State, yes.
The Granite State. Jeremy M. Biden actually thinks the country backs him. He will not step down. It's going to be a matter of, telling him he has to. However the deep state tells you have to. I don't know what their tactics are, but they tend to get their point across when they want to. And
they show you pictures of your family.
Exactly. At a certain point,
listing addresses.
Yeah, they're gonna have to just say, listen, if you don't, Trump, that's the one scenario where I could see Trump actually winning is if the Democrats swap out for another Democrat who they think can beat him, and then they don't. It could work out that way. You never know. It's so uncertain. It really is. It really is.
I just don't think after what happened in 2016, they'll ever take the chance of assuming that Trump can't win again.
Yeah, no, they're on high alert. Of course. Yep. Jason R., thanks for the $5. Hey, guys, long-time viewer, first-time commenting. Thank you. DD became a fast favorite. Russell did an HRC impression on a live stream long ago, and it was pretty funny. Yes. Yeah, he does a good Hillary. We had a guy call into our Patreon show last night who did a great James Carville. Yeah, he did a good Bill. Yeah.
He did.
We had a guy call in last night and give us a good James Carville. That was fun. Sean was his name. Can I get a Patron of the Year award for another $5? Yeah, we should do Patrons of the Year. Thank you, Ruthless Criticism. Appreciate that. Sparky, Thanks for the $10. Russell's dad, being a horse trainer, reminded me of me and my brothers catching an out to pasture horse with cream-filled donuts. Seeing we were kids, the farrier only charges $28 to shoe it. Oh, wow.
Okay, we used to have, this isn't only a New York thing.
I was about to say, is your emoji a horse? No, that's a dog.
I used to drive a horse and carriage. So the horseshoer for New York was this, I don't want to say his name. I don't want to get sued. But it was exactly what you'd expect a New York farrier to be. He was this foul-mouthed Italian guy who would curse and swear and scream so much when he was shoeing the horses that one day the cops came in the stable and rousted him. Motherfucker, fucking horse, goddammit, motherfucker. Guy smoked like a chimney, wheezing the whole time he'd be shoeing the horse. The cops came in and he turned around, fuck you, I'm fucking shoeing the horse. They started putting him in cuffs. Guys, come on. I gotta shoot a horse. Exactly what you would think the New York farrier would be. That's what this guy was.
It's funny. Daniel T, thank you. Thanks, guys, for holding up true progressive values. Found you guys this year. Been watching a lot. Agree with most of your points, except have to disagree with Russell's take on Brie. Fair enough. Thank you for the donation. Right. Sparky. Trump's relatively moderate on Israel compared to other politicians, not really moderate for most people. I mean, he's just less.
He moved the embassy to Israel. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, he's very, very big on Israel. He doesn't like Netanyahu because Netanyahu didn't back him on the election stuff. So he's not going to speak in these flowery terms about him the way a lot of the Republicans and Democrats do. But in terms of policy, yeah. I mean, and even on the campus speech, didn't he say something? My brother was telling me about this because I didn't watch this. But Trump was like, yeah, I mean, if they're saying bad things about Israel, you have to do something about it. Like, he didn't even grasp the First Amendment question. It's like, they're talking bad about Israel? That can't be allowed. They're not even conscious of, like, the constitutional implications of it. It's just all and impulse and ego.
People project onto Trump. It's like hope and change. It's the Trump hope and change. People just project what they want to see onto Trump, like he's a champion of causes that he really doesn't even understand.
Yeah, he's like Elon in that way. A big personality, high risk personality, certain attitudes and impulses, but not much real substance in back of them. He's the lesser evil to Biden. I mean, I'll say that pretty comfortably, but that's not saying much.
Sure.
McDougal, thanks for the $10. Happy New Year, fellas, from your favorite member of the MAGA delegation.
Speak of the devil.
Speak of the devil. Don't forget, 2 Corinthians. That's the whole ball game right there. America first, then Trump are inevitable in 2024. Well, Happy New Year, my friend. Thank you.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. Ruthless. Commies are generous, Comrade Russell. Yes, where would we be if we didn't support our channel? That's right. That's right.
That's
Good
right.
point.
Tusker's going to bayonet me and when I get to NOLA, take over.
There you go. Well, Tusker's on Wednesday. She just confirmed that with us, so she's good for Wednesday. Thank you, Tusker. We were Atlanta kids, but Dad's friend had that horse on the outskirts of town. He told us if you can catch it, you can ride it. He wasn't worried about liability at all. A blast riding that horse. That's a good story.
Those were days where they didn't care. Children got kicked in the head by a horse.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's a better country then.
We rode horses at the Grand Canyon.
If you lived to be an adult, you had true grit.
Right. Thanks for supporting Kit Cabello. You two grifters grifting for other grifters. That's the spirit. That's right. I made this little banner here just for you. That should be our new motto here to do this at this channel. So thank you, and thank you. And like I said, I think Kit's going to be all right. Kit and
we hope so.
Dan. Parents equals 30 seconds of pleasure, 30 years of pain. Yeah. It's good. 30 seconds of pleasure. I get it. Mosaic Russ, I thought you had a daughter. You fake dink. Well, he does have 3 kids, but he never did the family thing.
When I said I was a cat and a bounder, I meant I was a cat and a bounder, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, you got into that last time. But thank you. Sparky, are dinks who substitute pets for children actually dinks? I see many with multiple dogs or cats. My wife and I were together for a long time before we had kids. And we had pets, and we didn't anthropomorphize our pets the way some people do, but our kids had them. Yeah. That's the one thing about having kids. That's the transition. You kind of fall out of love with your pets a little bit just because they become, another layer of pain in the ass. You know what I mean? Like now I got to care for kids and pets. It's like now when your pet needs something, it's like, oh man, I'm fucking tired. Now you need to go for a walk. Yeah, it's a lot of lives, right? So it's not that I don't love my pets anymore, but they do get exponentially more exhausting when you become a parent, for sure. There's no doubt about that. Ruthless criticism. Thanks for the $5. All the money I would spend on children, I spend on Dissidents. Beautiful. Respect the dink. Well, yeah. So we love you for that, my friend.
No. You know what? I mean, for me, the theaters that I owned definitely played the role in my life at that age that a family would have. All my money went to my theaters. All my efforts went to my theaters. Like everything went into keeping those afloat.
Right. Sparky says, go Yemen, fight the power for $2. Thank you, Sparky. DD London, did you name your screen name after our show? Love the show. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks for the £9.
It's for Daredevil, the Marvel character.
Oh, I guess my ego got the best of me there.
Yeah.
Sparky, oops, sorry. The McConnell justices will sell Trump out. It'll be funny if Justice Sotomayor and Justice Kagan end up saving Trump. Well, they're not going to save Trump. The liberals are going to vote against Trump. If you think the McConnell justices will vote him out, then he's probably screwed because the liberals are not going to come to his defense. I can guarantee you that.
All right, this is for the chat.
The cat was named Vagina.
Baron Saturday, thank you for the $5. Appreciate that very much. And with that, we will wish you all a good night and a happy new year. We will see you all in 2024. Like I said, this was a big year for our channel, so we really thank you guys all for taking an interest in us. We do wish it were under better circumstances. It is bittersweet that this explosion in growth happens in response to our coverage of a horrible genocide, which we would obviously give all our subscribers back if we could undo what's happening in Gaza right now. And so it really is bittersweet in that way. But we do thank you for taking an interest in us this year, and we hope to do right by you next year. Until we see you again, we will wish you a happy new year tonight. Have fun tonight as best you can. Russell will be reporting live from the City of Angels on January 3rd. I'm assuming you'll probably sit in on the show, but maybe you guys will go out to eat after, whatever. Russell may be here, maybe not on Wednesday, but you'll be here Friday morning from L.A. From L.A., you'll be here Friday morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. over there. I will be bright and early, 6 a.m. in L.A. I'll probably still be jet lagged, so it'll feel like 9 to me. Yeah. Thank you all very much for giving us so much support this year. It's really been amazing. And with your support, next year, we definitely want to expand into a lot of exciting things, more on-the-ground reporting. I'm finally going to do those video essays from my travels last year to share those experiences and the things I saw with everybody. Those are big projects, so you guys supporting us gives me the time to really sit down and do that. I'm planning on starting that when I'm in LA now, because I'll have some time there up in the guest house with no car. So yeah, there you go. You'll be in a driving city with no car, so it'll be like a little creative cabin. It'll be your cabin in the woods, only in LA. Exactly. It'll be very Misery. It'll be Jimmy coming in there with a sledge, with a hammer. You killed my misery. Thank you all very much from the bottom of my heart. Yes, I second that. Thank you guys all for a great year, and we hope we can make 2024 better for everybody. Thank you to all those on Rumble. Thank you to all those on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. Hit that like button on the way out. Hit that follow button over on Rumble on the way out. We will see you guys in 2024 Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Until then, be safe and be well. And for the last time of 2023, have courage.
Please clap.